And welcome everyone. Welcome to another another OSR tabletop with myself, DM Bluddworth. I'm using DM today because we are going to be talking about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition, and I am joined tonight, much to my great pleasure, joined tonight by Condor DM Stephen Saunders, but most of you out there probably know him as Condor DM, and this is a long time in the making because I know, quite a number of years ago, probably about 2 years ago or so, maybe just a little over a year ago, I wanted to bring Condor on to talk about second edition because I do consider him and his channel to be one of the, if not the top channel, certainly within the top two channels that actually focuses on AD&D Second Edition. And if you know anything about my gaming history, AD&D Second Edition is not something that I played in that time frame. I stopped playing. I stopped playing Advanced First Edition around 88 or 89, and really there were much more games, mixed into there. And then I went into like a 20-year hiatus from tabletop role-playing games. So I missed second edition, third edition, fourth edition, and only briefly dabbled with fifth edition in 2015 before I was like, nah, that's not for me. And I went right back to the tried and true. But it was that at that time that I was first exposed to AD&D Second Edition, really through the only retro clone I know of, and I want to dig into that as well during our conversation, but the only retro clone to AD&D Second Edition, which I will reveal a little bit later on. But I've also played Second Edition at conventions, and I also want to delve into there as well. So I'm going to let Stephen, I said enough already, let Stephen introduce himself and talk a little bit about his journey with both tabletop role-playing games and second edition in particular.
Okay, many people have heard my history, but I'll refresh your audience here. I started in 1987 as a player of D&D. I started with AD&D First Edition, actually, and really played that a lot, played that a ton. And then around 1990, started playing second edition. And by 1991, I decided to start DMing, Dungeon Master, right? Second edition was, well, I'll tell you this. I liked first edition. I really do like the aesthetic, like many people do, demons and whatnot. But after exploring second edition, like everybody else, I was a little off by some of the aesthetic changes, but I like the gameplay more. And so I'm someone who does a lot of gaming. So that becomes my priority, is actually just doing the thing. And I felt that was better for me. And I just got to know it. And I knew so many people doing AD&D 1 that I wanted to separate myself from some of the guys that were, so I could just offer some different experience to people, right? And I started DMing like that, like a maniac. I was an addict. I won't go over all the numbers because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything. I was a complete addict as a kid and gave all my free time to this. I never took a break. I played a variety of games, though. World of Darkness, Unlimited Heroes. I mean, it just when you think off the top of your head about some of this stuff, you can forget, like Tunnels and Trolls. Like I said, I did OD&D 1, basic. I played modules. I didn't bother running them because I found myself to be a creative. So I like to make all my own stuff. I didn't even like the commercial worlds. Like I play in Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk, but it was like, I found my fellow nerds would be too picky on some of the details about there, and I'd like to make changes. So I said, instead of pissing off people, I just make my own setting, right? And I did a lot of that, made multiple settings and all that. And I would say, just in all honesty, the amount of gaming I've done, I had a 2-year period where I was working between 1991 and now as far as DMing. That's the only time I've taken time off. And I haven't missed a single month, I think, since 1991 until now or at least running a gaming session for somebody, right?
Right.
But yeah, I've been active in the hobby for a long time. Most of my gaming is in person, but in the early 2000s, I started online with a program called Open RPG. Some people might know it. It was very popular at the time. We had about 10,000 people cycling in, because there wasn't a bunch of competition for these programs. So we just had a crap load of players. Had really easy time. I could fill up a game in 20 minutes. Same thing in life. We have a thing called HalCon, which is average 15,000 people a year that come to it. Back at my time, I was in a military gaming community. We had about 6,000 people, and they would do what I would call cons, what we would call cons now, like every month, big get-togethers, and then you go there weekly. So I was spoiled too, because it's military people, they're all good players. Like they're just paid players. Like if you're authority, they listen to you. Like they're all mentally, they're trained to listen to you, and they'd even tell me that, like, you call the shots, man. So I never had people that. It's only until I got into the civilian nerd world that I started running into the bad players. Right, that we talk about. But I got pretty lucky for a lot of years, and that's my basic history right there, without going too far into it.
Yeah. So HalCon, I'm assuming, is short for Halifax, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I know you're Canadian, and I know you're from Nova Scotia, right? So Nova Scotia proper. So I assume HalCon is Halifax. So for my people out there that might not know, so Halifax HalCon. I've actually heard of HalCon before too. Before you mentioned it, so anyway, so I see there's already talk about in the chat, like Birthright, and everyone wants to know about Birthright. So and Birthright was uniquely an AD&D second edition world setting, basically. And so we'll delve a little bit into that as well. So yeah, I'm most interested in hearing about, from you, what was it about AD&D second edition, where, because you said you started with first edition, and so what was it that pulled you towards making this your go-to? All right. So I'll let you go on that.
All right. So what pulled me into second edition? So unlike my fellow nerds, I don't get too picky on. It's almost like a different priority set. So they would be very aesthetic on things they like, and they vary the games they get into, because there's one thing I've always known, something I recently heard from Max Leal, Legion of Myth, that Kevin Sabita told him that I've heard for years, so I sort of knew this. Gaming is personal. So it doesn't matter if a game is improved, it's the aesthetics and stuff like that will be very personal to people. Real men play Dragonlance. Of course, I've got the Dragonlance Max.
That's the only reason I put it up there, because it's Max, and you just mentioned them.
Yeah. But Kevin Sabita said something I've heard before, which is gaming is very personal to people. So unlike my fellow nerds would be very picky about crossing over. They change this or watering down the game. When I first got into the hobby, I met what you would call the elitist crowd, people that didn't want to open the hobby up to more people, because they always thought that would water down what we're doing and ruin what we had. I didn't agree with them, but regardless on that, it's just I got in, I knew there was an aesthetic thing. I'm someone who just is so active in actual gaming that the aesthetic is secondary to me, to the actual gameplay experience. And I like the second edition gameplay. And I was an old D&D guy where I don't care what you tell me isn't in the game. Oh, hey, Black Rose, good evening. But it's to me, it's all about the actual what you're doing at the table and how smooth or that experience goes. So I'm an old D&D guy. If you don't put demons in the game, I'll put demons in the game, right? If you don't put the assassin in, I'll put the assassin in, right? And I don't need the company to cater to me. And I don't mind the idea that you're opening to a wider audience. I actually wasn't offended by TSR going down that road. I understood they had to, as a business, you got to make money. And if you don't open yourself up, if the aesthetic is going to hurt you, then you got to change the aesthetic to appeal to more people. Yeah. And so I wasn't offended by the aesthetic change. And again, I'm old D&D. I'll just take whatever I want. It's a lot of guys did hybrids. And the hybrid, if you actually looked at it, most of the time was just them acknowledging the second edition gameplay was a little better, but they were like the aesthetic from 1E. So you but I'm sort of doing that naturally without thinking about it that way, right?
Right.
But I like the focus on Teiko instead of the the matrix from when I just it simplified Teiko. I like that.
Yeah.
That really is what was it like. I don't care about some details that seem realistic in the words, like when you're reading.
Right.
See, here's how I looked at it as a DM. The illusion of real is all I care about. So if you have weapon speed down, you might think, well, why would you bother drunk? And that doesn't get in the way. I just didn't care about it because it didn't make the game feel more real. Like if you
Right.
read it,
Yeah.
that sounds, but if you
Yeah.
go play the game, the illusion of real is all I'm concerned about. Like it's like, hey
Hmm.
guys, is the experience lesser or unrealistic? And they'd be like, no. Okay, well, that matters to me.
Yeah.
Right? That matters to me. Like the certain details outside of that experience don't mean much to me. Here's a small example. They have rules for like you can't shoot chef arrows from a short bow. Small little minor thing,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
I said to myself, if I let that happen, does that ruin the experience or make people feel like the game's not realistic? And I just allowed it and didn't matter.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, then that no longer matters to me if that doesn't matter.
Right.
Because it's the illusion. It's like I didn't like a lot of the guns in different games because even though it was realistic rules, when you played with them, it didn't feel like you're shooting a gun, right? Like it's
Right.
slow. You got to do this check. You got to do this check. When I did I made some guns for second edition. My main aim is the illusion of the experience.
Mhm.
So I don't care if it's almost unrealistic written down. It's when we go to play it, when you're shooting the gun, does it feel like you're doing that?
Yeah.
And if it does,
Yeah.
and I've created the illusion of the real for
Right.
you, then we're good.
Yeah.
And that was always, and second edition did a lot of that for me, the gameplay, the feel. And
Mhm.
that's why I don't have an issue with the older games. I don't have like
Right.
criticism of 1E. Like some of the guys don't like second edition. They'll say it sucks or 1E is better. I'm like, I don't really care about the game because I always thought that it's the DM and the players
Right.
that are going to be good or bad.
Yeah.
And if you tell me 1E is better than second edition, I'll be like, not if it's that guy. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Um,
that was my attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like the way that you expressed that, as far
Yeah.
as like creating the illusion, and I'll build on that and saying like especially with some of those mechanics, like you were talking about, those mechanics are designed to create some kind of a realism. I don't even think it was that. I think weapon speed and different weapon types versus different armor types and all of that was a throwback. And even though I can't pull up the quote, people, but it was a throwback, or it was a bone that Gary was throwing back to wargaming. And so yeah, we still have this in here, but when you move over to tabletop role playing and you start having these rules that are very mechanical and they're visually mechanical. In other words, like an extreme is like Rollmaster, right? Where you have to roll five different charts in order to determine whether or not just that you hit, but did you do any damage, and then what kind of damage, and then was it critical damage, and it becomes that realism that they're looking about becomes so unreal at the table because you've lost the illusion, you've lost the essence, and you lost the immersion of a role-playing game. It's like it's no longer I'm removing myself from the real world of these freaking dice rolling on my table, and then looking at charts, and I've just lost the whole feel and the pace and momentum of the game. And so when I look at Thaco, and I know Thaco gets attacked left and right, by modern audiences, but because they just can't grasp, doing that simple calculation. I don't get it, but I don't want to make this an attack on anybody that can't get the grasp of it. But it was an improvement upon looking up on the matrix and then trying to see, well, how do these things match up? Now I will say that I am a big fan of ascending armor class and target numbers. All right. And then
Mhm.
letting my players know, because I play primarily, online as well.
Yeah.
And so when they're fighting something, I have it displayed what that armor class is so that my players don't have to ask me, did I hit? They don't have to wonder. They just know this was my roll, this was my damage. I know I hit it, and then I just describe what that looks like to them. But they don't have to wonder, they don't have to, or anything like that. And it allows them to get more immersed into it. So, I'm not the purist like you were mentioning. Like I'm not the purist where it's like, oh no, if you're running AD&D first edition, it's 99% of its rules. You have to
Yeah.
follow them as they are written. And I'm also not a purist in that I don't look at modern games as not introducing some concepts, especially streamlining concepts that are just better. They're
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
objectively better. And I recently did a live stream where I said, yes, target numbers and these kinds of things are objectively better game mechanics because it allows the players to just focus on this is what my character is experiencing, and not having to wonder what the math is going on. I'm going to hit a couple comments here, and then I'll let you
Of course. Yeah.
pick up Thaco for the win. Well, maybe not necessarily so, right? But if you're perfectly fine with that, roll with it.
It works.
Because there's plenty of people I see. I actually see more AD&D Second Edition being run at conventions than I do BECME. To be honest with you, the only time you see like the really older editions of Dungeons and Dragons run is,
OSR.
and that includes First Edition as well, is when the special guests are running it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Alan Hammock, he's running AD&D First Edition.
Mhm.
Frank Metzner is running something completely different. All right. I think he's running something that was pre Dungeons and Dragons. All right. Because he's just rolling 2d6s. I was sitting right next to him when he was, when I was playing at his table, and I was trying to figure out what the hell he's actually doing. And the only thing he's running is, the only thing he's rolling is 2d6s, and we were rolling d20s, but our target number was always the same. We had our little modifiers, but anything a 15 or above was a success. Anything 10 and below was you're dead. Basically, it was like and everything else fell in between. So it's great to see how the game mechanics of different systems really do kind of set the tone for that system, and that's why I want to kind of segue and direct it back to you.
Okay.
So was there for you a tonal difference between second edition and first edition?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
And I'll tell you, I'll explain that.
Yeah. No.
Okay. The way I experienced first edition was I understood. I had talked to a lot of guys, and there was the tournament play, as we know, and you had to stay raw with that so you get a consistent experience at the tournament play, and that's what the company wanted. As much as Gary, I think, wanted that to be the game at home, he just didn't put that on people.
Mm-hmm.
They just seemed to accept that, people are going to want to do many things with their system, and why not make it easier to have people do it with your system instead of putting your money to other games, right? It's a way to really try to keep people, playing with your thing. I found that the combat, the dungeon play, and character creation were the core parts of what D&D was. And if you stuck to the combat, the dungeon play, and the character creation, you kept a Dungeons and Dragons feel to your game. And then you could pretty much play with the rest. And if you look at the language from AD&D 1 to 2nd edition, it seems to be familiar. It's either optional or this is guidance. This is you can follow the guidance or do what you want. And 2nd edition seemed to stick to that same theory. Yeah. Character creation, combat, dungeon play, this is what it is. Outside of that, it's optional, and this is guidance for you. You can do
Right.
this. So basically, if you're not a big creative and you don't have a bunch of your own ideas, there is a game,
Yeah.
right? But if you are creative, we want, and I think another reason is if you look at guys like Frank Metzner, uh, even Gary himself, the way they ran their games were never what you call by the book. They break
Oh yeah.
things, do things.
Mm.
I think they instinctively knew that guys like myself would come in and want to do that too, right? Do the similar things they're doing. Frank is one of my mentors as far as a guy I really looked into for years. And Frank did so much gaming that I think he sort of got like where I was. Priority is experience and not worrying about every detail. And then I'd say like this, I'd make changes and I'd ask players that played D&D for years, you played my game tonight. Things were a little faster. I think better in certain areas where I made changes. Does it feel like it's less D&D? And they'd be like, no, it's like D&D, but a little better. And I'd be like, okay. All right, well, that's good enough, right? It still feels D&D, even though I made all these changes. Yeah. And that's a little, it's like not focusing on certain things. Like you said, putting numbers up for people to see. So there's old DMs that would make you try to figure out what the thing was or do the math for you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, yeah, but you're going to spend a few more seconds doing combat and slowing your pace down than I will.
Yeah.
I'll put the numbers up only to speed up the pace because the pace in combat is so important. Now, that doesn't mean the pace in every part of the game has to be that.
Right.
I don't care if you fidgety around dealing with the trap. That's great. Take all your time.
Yeah.
I don't care about pace at all there. Combat, though, is a very touchy area. And if you have, as you said, from Roll Master, that illusion thing becomes so important, but it's illusion with speed through the combat, right? And so I put numbers up too, just like you would. Here's the armor class. So you don't got to figure it out. Here's the Goblin's armor class. And then have your Thaco number down on a note thing. So you don't got to sit there and keep looking up what your Thaco numbers are. So you have them just convenient in front of you. It's grade primary math. It's like grade 1 math. It's not like hard to do. What's 5 off 17, right? And so I always thought that type of stuff was all important to me as far as game play, right? That is really, really where I that's my bread and butter personally, because I had to go out and I say I'm a public game master. So what do I mean by that? Because a lot of people have accused me. I'll focus on what this person's saying first. Second is my favorite. I played BX, but tonight into second, I bought a lot of TSR products in the 90s. Core, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun, Ravenloft, Spelljammer. I love that guy. So, but yeah, I just prioritized where I was going in the game. And where was I, my dude?
You were talking about you know.
Yeah, we're good.
Just capturing that essence and moving it forward, and
it's really important when you get into the game and you're looking at things like pace and everything else. I'd still say to this day, if we're going to go into different games, my favorite experience as far as second edition you might find funny Greyhawk, but I used all the first edition material. That was my gimmick because I liked the aesthetic more than anything. I lost a little train there because
that's fine.
Sorry about that, dude.
Yeah, no, I got thrown off by the comment too. It was like, this is my favorite, and they brought in all those other things and everything. And
when I give something attention, I give it too much attention.
So, I mean, it's the having played both, and again, I played far more, years worth of AD&D first edition, and just the few times that I played second edition, and the times that I've actually gone through the books and looked through. The one thing I think second edition did far better, all right, was it was very clear this is an optional rule. Saying it's like, first edition, it was like pulling teeth, like looking to see what was an optional rule or not, and I think that throws a lot of the
discussion on Raw is, I think, flawed, and I think some people get stuck into it in a way where it's like, I come around and I know what they're saying is sort of wrong, but there's so many people on it and they've been in this position for years that if I say they're wrong, they're going to be really mad at me and I have to then take heat and get attacked.
Yeah.
I knew if I said the truth about that stuff, I'd get a lot of heat from people and people would be really mad at me. But I knew it was true because I knew from reading it and the guidance thing that it just, like you said, it's not as clear on the optional stuff. So second edition is more clear on freedom.
Yes.
But if you really dig in, you'll see words like, you could do this or not do it. This is guidance, do what you want. So if you really dug in the first D, you would realize as much as Gary and them were a little bitter probably about giving the freedom because they understood, I think, what WotC understood. We need to make our game because so many other companies have their game the way it is. And it's a competition thing. You don't want people to just get loose on what D&D is because it's anything. Yeah. And I sort of get that concept of you don't want it to be anything. But that's why I like the 30% rule. I always had my 30% rule. If you go back to OD&D and basic, there's none of that. You can do whatever you want there because it's experimental time. And if I talked to Frank on Dragon's Foot, Frank Metzner, and he didn't talk much on Dragon's Foot like Gary did. Gary talked a lot on there. But he said, I said, well, what's OD&D? He's like, whatever you make it. He's like, that's it. And if anybody tells you otherwise, they're lying to you.
They didn't have enough. They actually didn't have enough of the rules in there, to actually flow. That's why they, there's portions of it that said, if you need this information, just get it from chainmail. So it really made OD&D seem like it was an incomplete game, and in many ways it was.
Yeah, it was on purpose.
Yes, and that was primarily because so much of Dave Arneson's game was in his head. It wasn't written down, and if it wasn't for Gary, Gary was the one that actually put, the ideas and everything to paper and then put his, and then published it, put it in something that was publishable, and you had a great video where you were going through the evolution, let's say, of it. And I mean, that, I really found, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass.
Thank you.
But it was what really, struck me as probably the best video I've seen from you. And I've been watching your videos for, quite a while, but to me, it was like every point you made was like, damn, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he's hitting some of those nuances that were buried in several different sources. And you did something that I certainly don't do. You were very methodical and going through. I'm more off the cuff and, no notes, no anything, one shot, so it's called unscripted, and but your approach to it was really like an academic approach of saying, boom, 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 follow along. And I mean, I even said it in the comment section. I was like, damn, I mean, you hit every one of those points. And, I couldn't find anything in there that was not an objective, true. Cause I don't think that there was anything in there that was really opinion. It was more, this is how it was. And, maybe there might be 1% opinion thrown in there, but the rest of it was just bang, bang, bang. And just such a very thorough coverage of going from one edition to the next and one cycle of creators to the next. And, we've had 2 times in Dungeons and Dragons history, at least 2 times, where the new edition was just to remove an old name from it and separate it. And second edition is really meant to do that with Gary as well. It's meant to create that division, and saying, well, this was clearly, this was Gary's era, and now this is moving forward.
Could I make an argument on that? Because I think the guys screwed up that made second edition. I think if they were trying to get rid of Gary, I said, the mindset of second edition is Gary Gygax. They didn't remove the essence of the game from it. When I first started looking at second edition, and
and looking to, considering running it, but I was just looking at it and doing that mental comparison between, I was like, I was already in AD&D. I was already using secondary skills and non-weapons proficiencies and all of that were coming from Dragon Magazine and coming from the Wilderness Survival Guide, and I was like, all this does is it takes all of those things and kind of organizes them better, puts them into one source, and now you basically have what a lot of us were doing already. Because I don't know any dungeon masters back during my day, from 77 through 89, let's say, that weren't heavily pulling from Dragon Magazine.
Well, here's the thing I would say with second edition. I would think most of the people that worked on that respected AD&D 1. I say this, I go back to Beckman, and Gary did the same thing from original. He put that out, got that put out, but then he gave it over to his boys to go ahead and you guys fix this for me. That was Frank, Mulvane. Like, they did a good portion of the work organizing.
Yes.
And they organized it so they could bring in more people. It's like we need a more clear explanation so more people understand it, then they want to play the game. It's way less confusing. So when you look at second edition, it's more like taking AD&D 1 and just going, how can we clarify some things? And then getting, like, say, the Thaco. Well, that's a better option. Tournament play failed us. It wasn't that popular. Okay, let's drop that raw focus from tournament play. It's not working. Gary admitted, if you look at some of the Dragon's Foot stuff, the tournament play failed. He accepted that. It wasn't a thing that stuck. And again, that's where we go back to that raw thing for AD&D 1E people that really argue over raw. And I'm like, guys, I don't have a problem with your position, though I would only say I disagree that the home game was meant to be that. There's a lot of little things that I think nerds get stuck on, my fellow nerds get stuck on, that I don't. And I sometimes look at it like a waste of time. Like, it's like, does this affect what you're doing at the table? No. Then what are we talking about?
Right.
Why does that matter? I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I had to do it so much, and I have to. The public gaming. This is the thing I was going into earlier. Could I get on this for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because a lot of people have assumed I met certain things by public gaming that I never met. Like, oh, you run at the store, you run at the conventions. It doesn't mean I haven't done like the HalCon thing, and we'll talk a bit about that later. But as far as public gaming, what I really meant was some people played at home with their friends and family. Odd times you might bring someone new into that, but that's a lot of people's experience that you hear talking online. The majority of people in the hobby were people with no friends and no groups. And guys like me had to be willing to meet up with you, form a relationship, maybe find a place to game. It could be my home, your home. But the campaign would be the same as the home group. So I'm still a normal DM, but I call myself a public DM because I'm not running for my friends and family. I'm running constantly for people I don't know. And every time I'm adjusting to a new group, some players carry over. They get to know me through making a relationship through gaming. But most are going to be brand new. And I always have to meet strangers. Now, I personally have an easy time with this because I'm a very outgoing person. I'm just not shy. And I swear if it wasn't for me, some guys that ended up gaming with me would have never gamed. These were all nerds that were very antisocial. Almost every nerd I met is somewhat antisocial. I break the ice. I go forward to them. When I say public gaming, just to take away assumptions, is I don't mean at a store. I don't mean at the conventions. I mean, I run the game just like your DM at home. I have the same campaign experience. I do all the same stuff. It's just you're doing it with your friends. I'm constantly doing it with people I don't know. And then when I say things like I DM'd for thousands of people, like over 2,000 people think I'm being ridiculous and brag. I'm like, well, no, it's just I'm a public DM, so I'm constantly just changing up players. So I did that, not trying to, at this point in my life, brag to you. Right. It just happened that way.
Right.
That's all it did. Yeah. I was an addict. I did a lot of this, and I ended up probably running for over 2,000 people. Now, what's interesting is the more people you run the game for, the more you learn about people. Right. So it's one of my best educations is going through all the people I ran the game for over the years. Right. But that's, if you want to know what I mean by public gaming, that's public gaming for me. It's just running for strangers. It was just I wasn't doing at-home games, right? So a lot of people assume I mean something else when I say public game. I'm public game master just because I meet strangers. And it was neat. If it wasn't for me, if you have almost all your customers don't have friends, if guys like me don't get out there and learn the game, we don't have a hobby. That was my opinion. I still believe it to this day. The hobby would be dead on the vine if guys like me didn't get out there and run the game for probably 80 to 90% of people that didn't have a group.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's like public gaming actually captures that.
That's an opinion.
That thing. Yeah. I would think the only comparison I could make to that is there's a difference between sitting in a gaming shop and setting up your table, and you have the 4 empty seats and you wait for somebody to come in and sit down. All right. And compare that to you're sitting in a public library doing exactly the same thing. I think that's more of the public gaming, like you're using that, because you're not going to get an already interested person coming to the table. You're going to get somebody who's just curious about what's going on at this table. I see, one or maybe no other people sitting there. Hey, what is this? I see you have this whole thing laid out on your table, and that's how you bring them in. So that I would use that more so as public
I would
gaming.
go to them. See, I would go to places where I would watch people for if they're interested.
Yeah.
Hey, you. I notice you're checking this out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'd open the door. So I would never wait for people to approach me. Like,
I'd
say 80% of the people I recruited in that way, the way you're talking about without other means, was just me going, look at somebody watching me like, oh, you're curious? And they were like, at first some would be like this. I'd be like, dude, you can talk to me if you're curious. You're not gonna be shy. And then they would come over. I break the ice because, like I said, I work. I do crowd work. I do stage work. I'm a very public person. Somebody, when you hire me, when I worked security, they couldn't get the security guys to go work with some of the crowds to explain stuff. So they always put me out front because they're like, Steven will go in and talk to anybody, anywhere, and not be shy at all. Right. So I would do stage work and all this. And I was just so used to not being shy that I'd break the ice with anybody, and I could fill up a table on any day I would go to, like, say, library. But a lot of times it's silly things. Old school meant we didn't have the internet, but that meant things were used. But I mean, it's like, say you put your stuff in the classifieds, they'd be ignored now because we have the internet. Back then we didn't have the internet. So the only way to find anything was for people to be willing to look at that stuff. And I knew they would. So I'd put stuff out and be able to meet people in all kinds of different ways. And then some gamers that I knew, like players that I knew, they would just meet people and say, I know this guy, Steven, runs a great game. You want to meet him? I've never done D&D before. So then they'd send guys down, go meet up with Steven. Steven's great. He'll talk to you, no problem. And I just would. I'd make everyone comfortable. And, it took me, here's something I talked about with GM Cody, but it's true. I didn't really think it was true. First time I had a guy after so many years come up to me, like we had not seen each other in a while, and he said, I game now all the time. And I have a girlfriend. It was going to be his wife at one point. And he said to me, you saved my life. And I was like, come on, man. I ran a game for you, dude. He's like, no, you saved my life. I was like, why? He's like, when you met me, I wouldn't talk to anyone. He's like, if you did not come talk to me and get me into that game to socialize with those people, I would have never done that on my own. He said, you forcefully getting in my face to talk to me is the reason I sat at your table. And I didn't really believe it, but when I meet certain guys later, like the GM Cody, and that GM Cody was the same way. He was a really shy guy. And if he never had a certain interaction with a guy that was willing to talk to him, who knows where he would have went. And he said that was changed his life. The gaming he met his wife, his first girlfriend. He said if he didn't get into gaming and socialize, so he looks back at those interactions like really valuable to his life, like changed his life. And at first I thought it was corny, but after meeting so many other guys that went through that, I was like, okay, maybe I'm glad, I'm happy to, it's not a great thing. I'm happy to have helped somebody in life.
Right.
Or I took them out of a shell, out of a really bad problem and got them gaming with me. Right. So that's one good thing.
Yeah, I want to jump on some comments in here, and certainly want to pick up some of those disagreements. And so let's see. So this is going back a little ways when we're talking about pacing and everything. So Matt wrote, "This is where we'll have to disagree. Pacing is for books and movies, not a game. The flow of my game was never ruined by not telling the AC and making the PCs figure it out." Again, it's just a
I can respond to that.
Yeah,
not in a bad way.
Yeah.
How can I say? It's not that I think any of these things ruin games. And if a player doesn't have a comparison, they're probably going to enjoy what you're doing, and you're probably going to enjoy it too. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just someone who is a perfectionist, and if I can, to me, because it's my experience that would matter to me. See, as a DM, I'll make sure your experience is good, but I have to be happy to keep coming to the game and be passionate. If I could slice off 20 seconds and make it faster, I slice off 20 seconds and make it faster, because that's how I enjoyed it. If you're someone, there's a lot of nerds that don't really care about that detail. I get it. That's why. So if they put the 20 seconds back on to delay for that the communication, but they're all having fun. I've said this in so many of my videos. It doesn't matter what I say. If you and your group are having a good time, I don't care if you're throwing a tennis ball at the wall half the session.
Yeah.
You are doing it right.
Yeah.
Period. Because this is all about socializing and having a good time with each other, like having an experience that you want. So if you and your group have achieved that, don't listen to me. Right. Or you can listen to me, but sort of take it with a grain of salt. Right. Yeah. Like it's me that's bothered by the 20 seconds.
Right.
But like I said earlier, and it's where I mentioned with Max here, when it comes to Kevin Sabita, where he said it, and I've heard this when I was younger, gaming is personal. So what it works for me doesn't work for everyone. And that's that's not me saying that to make people feel better. I think that's real. There are some things I know people absolutely love and have a better time with the game when they do it that I don't like.
Yeah.
But they enjoy the game better when they do it. Miniatures is one area. I do pure theater of the mind. We won't dig too far into it, but a lot of guys prefer the miniature gameplay. I like first person action where I don't like the look above where the guy is behind you. I like the idea that I'm in your head and the only thing you can see is what I tell you. So you see what's in front of your eyes. Who knows if the shadow is your friend or your enemy behind you, right? I like that experience. That's one of the reasons. And I've never needed miniatures, so it wasn't necessary for me, right? But a lot of people prefer, and they play my game. This is just how real I am about this. I'll be honest. They played my game. They had a good time. They still prefer miniatures. So what am I supposed to say, that they're wrong? That's ignorant for me to even assume that that's wrong. So I don't have this big clash. It's just sometimes there's nerds. The game's personal. So if I say I don't like miniatures because I'm a public person, they think I'm attacking them because it's personal. It's like I'll criticize, say I criticized AD&D 1. I might be criticizing a game, but because you enjoyed the game, it's not you, but anybody. You might take it personal. Like, oh, you're saying my game sucks. So you're saying I suck. I missed a little bit of what. Could you put that comment back up? That Max.
Max's. Yeah.
I just missed it.
Yeah. No, he's basically, I've actually seen recently someone, I'm not going to mention name, come out and saying we need to get rid of the hobby. Although this person used we as far as the hobby, as if it's a monolithic community, which it's not. That we need to get rid of your mileage may vary. All right, which is really the essence of what Max says down here too. Hey, if it's working at your table, that's great.
Max has always said stuff like
for
this.
different strokes is basically your mileage may vary, and that really is the core of the idea of if you're having fun at your table, you're doing it right.
I get a kick out of how Max does this. Max is like, look, in reality, I'm cool with everything. but I'll still tell you that you suck, you're wrong, and you're no good.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, dude.
Yeah. I will say one thing, like with Max's comment here, is that when he says, like, you could do it if you want, but I certainly don't tell the AC. I only do it on a virtual tabletop. I don't do it when I'm playing live, at a convention or something like that. And I think it has to do with the fact that a virtual tabletop, particularly the one that I use, is clunky as hell. And so the last thing you want to do is not only messing around with, oh, well, where's the die roller? And where's, hey, this character sheet is not exactly working. We spend enough time on that bullshit, and then to worry about not having it set into place where it tells you whether you're hit or not when you hit that. Like, so I always make sure that the macros are correct, but in some systems the character sheet doesn't have the macro in there. And then we just have to do the simple rolling and looking at that other stuff. So I think it's more challenging, even more so challenging not to know those things a little bit ahead of time than with a virtual tabletop than it is at a convention table, let's say, or just a public table or private, an in-person table, I should say. So yeah, I do agree in some cases, Max, that it's that's not really what pacing is. But to take what Steven said, it's 20 seconds here. Compound that by 6, because now you have 6 players, at the table, and or yourself included in that.
More and more time.
If you want to say that gameplay has nothing to do with pace, there is a dramatic difference between running a table with 4 or fewer players and running a table with 6 or more. All right. You cannot tell me that gameplay has no issue with pacing.
100%.
No, it is 1,000% pacing when it's not running smoothly. All right. And if you have game mechanics that bog that down even more so, it's death. It is absolute death. To have a combat that takes 5 game rounds to go through, but it takes 1 hour and 20 minutes, that is freaking death. All right. In my mind, it's like, it sucks all the fun out of everything. You cannot be immersed in that. You can't, because you're just so bogged down and frustrated with it.
And that's mainly in the area of combat. It's not like I concern myself with all this pacing in other areas of the game. Like, I don't care. It's like me, every other area. Look, if you want to talk for an hour at the end, as long as you guys are having fun, I'm all about freedom. So for players, so I don't do railroads. At least outside of one shots, if I'm doing my campaign play. You know what? They'd say, man, we've been, you might have someone say, well, they sat there for an hour and talked. I'm like, well, ask any of them. Did all of them enjoy the talking for the hour they sat there? Yeah. Do they control where they go, what they do? Yeah. As long as they're doing something, that's all that matters to me. I notice that if I'm doing campaign play in a sandbox, thank you, Sword and Stones. Thank you very much. But if I'm doing campaign play, if I get people in, the only time I start giving triggers, as they would say, to get them active or give them just something to feed off of, something to react to, is when they're not actively in the scene. If they're in the scene being all active and talking to each other, or maybe 3 are, but say 2 aren't, I will then start throwing triggers to boom. But if all the group is just going at something, I usually don't speed it up, and I don't care. I don't have that same opinion that a lot of people do about, oh, you got to get to the next scene. I'm like, not if everyone's active, not if they're controlling what they do and where they go, right? That's necessary for me. So that, again, pacing, like I say, in every other area of the game is left to the players. I'll give triggers, like I'll do, like, say they're not talking much, but I want them to do a little talking. I might have an NPC waiter walk up and say, hey guys, what's this? What's this? What? Just say simple shit, because simple shit gets people talking, right? And the second they start talking, boom, triggers in, we're going, right? That's usually my gimmick. But yeah, the only area I've ever really been a bit anal about pacing is combat, because like you said, it just adds up. It really does. More players, it adds up a lot. And then over the fight too, you add 20 seconds on to a round. Like you said, you get 5 rounds into it. To me, that's just concerning because I'm a perfectionist trying to get it pacing going fast. And I know what it's like to have fast combat, how fun that is for players. Because a lot of players have told me they hate hack and slash. Here's what I learned as a DM. I'd hear all these guys tell me, I like hack and slash, or I hate it, or I like this, I hate it. I'm like, all right, but then they play my game and all the critiques they had went away. Like suddenly in my game, okay, it's fine. Like suddenly everyone likes combat when they didn't like combat before. They feel it's fast. So I always thought, okay, I'm doing something right here. And I encountered that so many times. I don't like doing a lot of role play interaction, but then I would try to make the interaction as interesting as I could. And suddenly they went, man, I never really bothered with this before, but that was cool. And we played almost a whole session talking. I was like, yeah, but you're having fun, right? And they're like, yeah. It's edge of seats is like this. Here's what I would say. Just say you go quiet, but I need something out of the scene. I could hint to move on, right? So we could move on to the next, especially if we got something out of it. Well, that's necessary. If we got something out of the scene, good, let's go, right? We can move on. If we got nothing, well, then I'll set a trigger in motion, right? Or I'll have a couple good players. So me and my players usually talk. And if I have a good player, like they'll just know if they get to the campfire and no one's talking, that guy will bring something up really basic. Yeah. He'll just say something really, and it's what you know what, you don't got to be a genius to get interaction. Sometimes it only takes a question, simple question, and it leads to everyone talking. To me, it's a trigger effect. Get the brain moving this way, and everyone starts playing. But if the brain goes standstill, that's where you get these sandbox DMs where they're like, man, I don't know why guys wouldn't do anything all that night. It was really boring. I'm like, but what did you do? I just waited for them to do something. Like, my opinion, that's not what you do. If they're not active, you put something in there to trigger some activity. As long as you get the brain moving this way, players go. They will go. It's just if they're locked in and can't think, it becomes too general. Now they don't know. It's like I could say 20,000 things, but I don't know what to say. Right? I want them to get to the point where they're thinking, eliminate this, like I want the trigger to eliminate a bunch of these general things away from them, so they can go, oh, okay, I can say this to it. And then we got talk, right? 8 hours. No, I see. I'm a campaign DM, so I would do this weird thing where it's, in one shots you want to mix the combat and interaction, all that, right? Mm-hmm. In campaign play, I don't care about that balance of sessions because we're going to play so many that you're going to get combat here. Like at one point, you're going to get your social interaction. So if we do a whole session of talking, I don't get bothered by that. It's the experience the players have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm worried about. And you'll be like, what are you, a DM that only does interaction? No, I'm a DM that can do everything.
Yeah.
So
like Max mentioned earlier on, he says there's a difference between pace and flow. All right, and so he said if the flow of the combat is kind of spot on, they're still going to enjoy it even if it is a long combat. I get it. And he wasn't meaning 8 hours straight of combat.
There's nothing wrong.
There were several throughout the 8 hour time frame. I'm assuming
he's DMing combat fine.
Yeah,
he is, and a lot of DMs do what he does. He's DMing combat fine. Probably had a great time with his players. They probably have no complaints about his game. I'm being sincere. I believe that. It's me.
Yeah,
it's gaming is personal, and the 20 seconds I notice.
Yeah,
I feel it. So my players might even be okay with Max's way of running it. Probably so. I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, they were just as happy with mine. So that's all I'm saying there.
Yeah.
This is the gaming is personal to me. I get bored. I feel the delay for 20 seconds. It's like, I don't know how many nights I would come out when I was younger, tell my players, I apologize. And they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's one of the greatest sessions I've ever played. I'd be like, it's one of my worst. But I believe that because I'm a perfectionist, and I felt it. It was actually a little unfun for me. That's why I actually think it's not fun for them. I'm like, it's a little lame for me, but they're like, that's one of the best things I've ever did, man. I'm like, okay, great. And the other thing I learned is from being in person and online gaming. I don't mean to get all over the place here, but I think
Yeah,
it's
no,
important just
go
to
right
say 'cause
ahead.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So the difference with online gaming and in-person gaming, I would tell people tell me, well, in person you can read people. I'm like, well, I've DM'd over 2,000 people. My experience with is most people are really good at hiding what they think. And they do this socially all the time, all day in life. So they're well practiced at it by the time they get to you. And you can see a stiff looking guy there and you talk to him afterwards, like, I'm sorry, man. I know I didn't do a good job for you. And he'd be like, no, that was a great game. It's like, you look like you're bored out of your fucking mind, though.
Mhm.
Though, ironically, if I would have ran him online, I probably could tell that he was having a good time because his voice didn't really give it away. Like his voice sort of was a bit more active when I finally talked to him clearly. But it's that so many people are good at hiding who they are and what they think in person in life that they're so well practiced at it that by the time you get to you, you can't guarantee what you're seeing is what you're getting. That's what I've noticed. You tried to pick up on it, but it can seem like, oh, he was active most of the session, but I don't know, man. I mean, was that boring for you? So I had to get a little less paranoid just over time. That was one of the things I learned when I was young.
Yeah.
I
just want to reiterate on some of the, because a lot of the comments are coming in and we're not talking about a single combat encounter that is taking 8 hours. You know what I'm saying? Or, no, it's to have a majority of a play session. Now, I don't do really long play sessions. 3 hours is pretty much 3.5 hours is pretty much my upper limit. I can go 4 on rare occasions, especially if we're trying to wrap something up and it might be a delay where we're going on vacation or something and I want to wrap this thing up, but you can have combat take place, most of a game session, and yet it's not just that one encounter. So my game last night, I ran an OSE game last night.
Yeah.
All right. So Old School Essentials, if you're not familiar with it. And I have 4 players. All right. So it's a nice small group. We can get a lot done in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they were basically a group of dwarves. They're all dwarves. And they have their pony with them that they brought into the cavern system with them, because ponies can travel with them in caverns, and
I get it. Yep.
they're in a goblin lair, and so yes, they're on an adventure to cut goblins in half. All right, so basically, how do you make that interesting? This is where pacing and flow kind of come into play, right? The difference between the two. If I had that entire freaking layer come at them at one time, all right, with no nuance to it, no environmental impact of what was going on or any of those things. If I just sheer numbers, like Max keeps on saying, like bags of HP flowing in at them, it would have been boring as hell. It would have taken the whole 2 hours and they would have gotten nothing out of it. No. What I did was I had them going in and they encountered a small group of guards. They started fighting them, and they're only first level too. So there's the challenge of being first level and going into this thing. And one of the goblins, gave up an alert, and then several seconds later, in game time, basically, here comes another goblin coming around the corner. So now they say, all right, we need to start looking in several directions. And then they took care of that one. Then they started moving along, and they got into another section, and there's another goblin there that's doing his business there, and then turns around, and no surprise, but they start fighting again. Totally different encounter from the last time. Yeah. Then a bugbear comes out from the latrine area of the map, which was, clearly defined as the latrine and garbage disposal, because, goblins, I guess they do shit where they eat and all that. And it became something like they started to realize that, this whole layer is going to be coming at us from multiple different directions, and they started strategizing how they were going to look for choke points and and did all of this stuff. And after about 2.5 hours of them basically clearing this fairly small layer, but there were many different directions that they had to go in, chasing some down, setting up choke points, doing this and that and everything. Yes, it was 2.5 hours of combat, and none of it got bogged down, and none of it was
I want to speak on that
none of it
too.
was boring.
No,
At least for me, it wasn't. And I don't think for them it wasn't boring either. I mean, we even had some laughs during it too. Because the bugbear came out of the latrine area with smelling like crap because he probably had toilet paper stretched behind him if he even bothered to wipe. And that became the big joke too. So
it's in direct combat for me where it's here's where I say pacing. Like direct combat where they're fighting, I want the 20 seconds sliced off that. But it doesn't mean I'm not okay with slowing combat down. Here's what I mean. For entertainment reasons, maybe something funny has happened. Maybe explain the details of an outcome of an attack will be something interesting for the players to hear. Maybe there's someone coming from the side, and I want to give that a second to explain it. It's like you're talking about goblins and shitting where they eat. The last time one of my groups ran into a group of goblins, they're coming up in the woods, and they walk around, and I say, you see this
Sorry about that, everyone. I had an interruption. It said all of a sudden it was like your live feed has cut out. I hope you're all still here. And little hiccup there.
Yeah.
That was very strange. I've never seen that before. But
just to go back
live
to the combat
again,
thing,
so go back.
I want to clarify just that it's not that I'm against slowing combat down for certain things, like say a funny outcome description, something happening to the side. So I don't want to make it sound like all combat is this mechanical thing where just I shave the 20 seconds off. It's when you just get into the fighting, past a lot of the details. It's like how fast is that part of the process? But as far as going, hey guys, here's what's happened when you hit him. You hit him into another goblin, and now that goblin's cursing at him. I mean, that goblin's not looking at me while we're fighting, and they'll take advantage because I always believe if you say something out loud, it's real. As a DM, right? So the second I give a detail, my players know, oh, whoa, wait, you said he turned? Yeah. Okay, I'm attacking him. Is it armor class down? Yeah. Here's another thing. You were talking about the choke points in your dungeon and all that.
Yeah.
When I was young, I had early experiences a few times where I got embarrassed, where I have certain things set up and my players are coming in going, okay, we're going to really strategize this. We're going to make sure these guys can't come from here. And I'm like, thinking to myself, I don't have that much planned out, dude. Like, and then I'd have to start like planning out my hits. Like, should I put more down? Because these guys are all acting like these guys are going to come everywhere. But I'm like, no, there's only like a couple of groups. Like, I mean, they could spend 20 minutes trying to strategize, but I've not set up.
Right.
But when I listened to them, one of the early things was like going, it makes sense that many might be there coming at them. I'm like, oh god damn, I'm gonna have to fix that. So I didn't, and that's where I started improvising really early. Was you start hearing these things. So one of the things I noticed is players' expectation can sometimes leave you going, and their expectation makes so much sense to you that you're like, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I did not put that many things in there because I should have. And it makes sense that they might run into that in there. So that's one of the things I learned early was sometimes you overkill too. My dungeons, most people don't get to floor 2. I'm very gritty with dungeons, and my experienced players hate my dungeons to the point they avoid them at all costs. So like some new player will come in, yeah, man, let's go into a dungeon, like be like Dungeons and Dragons. Let's go in. My experienced players like, do not go into his dungeon. And they're like, why does it suck? No, that's not the issue. It's going to fuck with you, and you're never going to want to be there again. Like you just want to get out because he's going to grind every part of that. Because I'm a campaign DM, so unlike one shots, you'd be like, well, if they get stuck here for a while, I don't care. I don't really care at all. To me, it's all about active in scenes. If we're having a good time, take your time. We got 120 sessions. Now, another thing about online in person, you talk about how many hours you're on. This is the one advantage I think of in person has over online: stimulation. And I have 2 groups in person, and I still run 8-hour sessions for them.
Mm.
But I'm stimulated and not tired.
Right.
Online, there's less stimulation, so I get more mentally tired. So do the players faster. So I
Yeah.
go 4 hours, but I find I'm as tired as 8 hours in person. But I'm old school. So
Right.
when Max talks about it, like, oh, why don't people just do 8 hours? I never stopped doing 8 hours in person. I do
Yeah.
8 to 10. When I was young, I used to do like weekends where like I go on no sleep at all. I just be like, we'd start Friday night, and I'd be Sunday night still running the same fucking thing with just
Yeah.
small pauses. And people that like nowadays, people are like, sure you were. And I'm like, if you know old school gaming, like whenever I talk to real old school guys, they're all like, yeah, we get that. Now,
Yeah.
some people in the hobby are like, yeah, bullshit thing, right? It's like a lot of the things I talk about, a lot of guys that weren't there, they'll think I'm being ignorant when I say how many sessions I ran or something like that. But I'm like, guys from that timeline when they were really there, and I say that to them, they're like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I know addicts too.
Yeah.
And they know, and they don't think I'm bragging or I'm being ridiculous or I'm lying. But it's when guys just have not had that experience. I sort of
Yeah.
get it. I sort of do really get it. Like they be in the hobby at a different timeline. They don't play like addicts. They don't
Right.
do all these session stuff. So when I say, yeah, I did thousands of this or thousands of, they're like, bullshit, dude. I'm like, yeah. But when I talk to a real guy from there, he's like, yeah. My DM did something like that too, or they'll have similar stories. Right. So
You have a good night, Swords and Stones. Thanks for stopping in. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, on that 8-hour thing, actually, there is a big difference between, playing online and in person, because I can do 2 game sessions back to back at a convention. That's 8 hours, all right, without any real problem. And the big difference is that when I'm running a game from home, I'm here sitting in this chair with my, bottles of water and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't my own group and everything, because we'll, hey, let's take 5 minutes, go to the bathroom or whatever. But yeah, I tend not to even do that. We tend to just plod through.
Mhm.
So to do 8 hours without a break, but at a convention, I can do 8 hours back to back.
It's stimulation.
And yeah, it's because there's no problem with you standing up and still running your game standing up. I can't do that at the computer.
Exactly.
Now 12 hours straight is a bitch, because I've done that too. And that's where I'm like, you know what? At conventions now, I kind of break that up. I never do 12 hours straight anymore. But I really like having that middle part of the day to just go around and chat and have a lunch or whatever. But yeah, there's a definite difference. Both a mental difference, I think a physical difference as well. Just a conditioning difference. You're in a totally different mindset when you're in person,
It's more energy.
particularly at a convention. Yeah, you're more motivated to just keep it going, and yeah, you don't want it to stop. Yeah, because you're just having such a great time doing it.
Exactly. There it is.
I find online play is more draining as well. 8 hours in person, yeah, which is basically exactly what I was just kind of touching on. Yeah, it's a total mindset difference when you're doing it in person. And again, I mean, we really didn't jump on this, but your experience of always, running or mostly running with new people that you've never run before, that's convention experience too. Most cases, you haven't met any of those people before. They're at your table for the first time. And to me, I love it, because I feel like not only do I have to be on, but I find that I am on more so when I'm doing that. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm at my best.
Could I make
when
a
I'm
case
running
for
a
that?
convention game.
When you run for your friends and family, you get a little lazier sometimes too, because they'll let you get away with stuff, and you'll make all these exceptions. When you run for strangers, you're working.
Yeah.
See, I'm a working game master is what I call myself. And when I'm running for strangers, I don't know their ticks, but I don't need to. And I don't need to be lazy with the member. I'm on edge. I'm running for someone I don't know. I want them to be happy. I want to impress them. My friends and family, Yeah, fuck you. All right, just calm down, dude. I can't talk that way to a stranger, right? Like, oh fuck, like, because if not, that guy's gonna leave my game, and so I can't do that with strangers. So that means I got to work and be professional, and that's really important to keep me on the edge with the stimulation. It's that in person energy, and I could still get that online sometimes. Like you say, 4 hours. I could do 4 hours. At the odd nights, if I'm really feeling it with a new stranger group, even online, I can go 6 to 8 hours. I've done that several, but that's not planned. It's one of these things where we get to the 4 hours and I'm like, you guys are here. Can you keep going? And they're surprised because it's usually them asking the DM to keep going. I'll be like, can you keep going? It's the DM asking. And they're like, yeah, we can. I'm like, okay, we'll keep going. So I've done 6 and 8 hours on here. Yeah. I've done 10 hours on here when I was younger, like when I started DMing on the open RPG thing. Now that's a weird experience.
Is that still around? Oh, open RPG? Is that still around or no?
I don't know. I haven't used it in years, but that I could either do the audio with some like Skype or program and then use that as a dice thing. Some of the sessions, some of the campaigns I ran were all in. It's not like posting like a form. It's different. It's really live interaction, but you're typing and you got to type where like you got to put the quotations to show that you're talking in character. There was all these rules for how you type out, how you talk out of character, or as a GM, I'm talking in GM mode. I'm not talking as NPC. Those sessions in the typing thing could take me 18 hours to complete the thing I wanted to do. We did where it was a whole, like typing, it was a weird stimulation, but it's like, I'm like a machine. I could get that way too. I did some 10 hours in it. When I was first young on here, it's different. Now at this age, like we're both older. Yeah. I'm with you. I get usually drained at 4, just like Max would, right? Like I'm drained at 4, but still, in person it's 8 hours. And I don't really do gaming. Like I haven't done gaming online in probably about a year or so now because it's hard for me to get players on here. My reputation. That's just the truth. But outside of that, in person, because people know me in person, I could fill up a table still to this day in like 10 minutes. Because they're excited. I got people that want to be in my game now in person. I got like probably 20 or 30 people that are in line waiting, like are in the waiting category because I just got too many players in person that I'm like, dude, I got 2 groups. I got to work in life. I got this YouTube thing. I got all the stuff I'm doing. I just have no time to take on more. And I do have a rule. I used to take on 10 players like you or something when I was young, like lots of paid players. But I cut it down to 5. And there's a reason. After many years, I can give more attention to 5 players that I only run the game the way I want to play it. So if I'm in a game where I'm in with 6 to more people, I'll notice the DM doesn't give me the attention I want. Like not enough.
Right.
So I cut it down to 5 now, even in person, because it's all about making sure I give all the time to the players that you should give to a player, in my opinion, though.
Yeah.
All the time you should to players when you're doing that. I find if I go over 5, now I'm stretching my attention out. And that's unfair to them because how do players play a tabletop role-playing game? When they speak, I need to hear them. And if I don't hear them, they can't play the game. The joystick is words, right? For them to move a character forward, backwards. So if I miss stuff, they haven't done that. If I miss stuff, they're not playing the game. So I need to be able to pay attention to everyone so they can play the game because they played the game through talking to me, right? There you go. Reading this in person, I like 6 players plus 6 hours. I prefer 8. I don't know. That's a difference. Some people like the larger groups. I personally it's a personal thing, but I like 5 players. That's where I find that I can give the most attention to people at my table.
At a convention, I like 6 players at the table, plus myself, because I think that I like to give people the opportunity to play at conventions, and sometimes tables fill up so fast.
I do 8 at Halcon. So I'm not just
4 or 5. It's I think 4 or 5 is too small. Although some game systems 4 is what it's designed for. Like Blade Runner. Blade Runner is designed for 4 players. And so that's you should not go above that.
Agreed.
in my opinion,
Agreed.
but it's designed for that.
Yeah.
But any other table, I think 6 in a convention is you're doing a service to the people that are paying for tickets.
100%
To be
agree with
there
you.
and everything.
I do 8 at the HalCon.
Yeah,
Well, I don't
yeah,
disagree. It's just that it's the personal campaign of mine. So
yeah.
it's like when I personally go to recruit for a campaign that's not about serving people at a convention. But I
No,
100% agree with you. Like
yeah,
to the point I do,
um,
I'll do 8 players at a convention here in Halifax.
yeah.
But yeah,
Now, in a home game, I like right now I'm trying to put together a GM plus one, just one player, because I want you to be the focus of it. I want you to be the star of it, and I only want to do 2 hours, in those sessions because you can get so much done in 2 hours with just one
I
player.
give you the time, DM
Yeah,
Bluddworth, if I could. But
and
I have
then
that.
yeah, then we have my regular group is, well, I have one group that's 4, and that's working really well. Although they could use a thief, but it's still working fine.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have a thief, use a strong hammer, and it kind of works out just fine. You just make a lot of noise doing it.
That's exactly it.
And then my regular group is 6 players, 5 to 6, sometimes 7. That's kind of regular. My largest group in recent history was my AD&D campaign, and that was at 10 at one point. For a long time, it was at 10, and then it finally shrunk to 8, and that was challenging. But AD&D First Edition is a simple enough game mechanically that you can get away with that. You could not do that with 5e.
Nope.
There's no way.
Nope.
Those combats would have been, 3 hours long for one thing, because you have so much, that's the kind of action economy that they have there.
Can we jump to a little different thing here? Something about old school and 5e that here's why I don't like the raw argument about old school. Here's my personal opinion. Here's why I think, first off, I don't think it's true. So, and I think the designers would actually agree with me that it's the raw thing, top to bottom, is not true, not for the home game. But here's my argument. I like the freedom of old school because if you go by raw, what does raw mean? It means you're the middleman between the book and the players. And if the book has all the authority, you get rule lawyers. If the book doesn't have all the authority, rule lawyers have a lot less sway.
Right.
Because now you have the authority over the book. Here's what I would say, guys that pitch raw. You are more supportive of WotC gaming than you think you are. I ran 5e. My experience was this purely with 5e. I have a non-passionate role. There's no passion in this for me, where the book runs the game, and I am the middleman between the book and the players. You might as well have an AI. The difference and the reason I think we should celebrate the freedom of old school D&D is it makes it that I'm running the game, not the book. And that's a valuable thing that old D&D did better than any other game. Almost every other game that comes out, this is the game, the way you play it. That's even the games of old school. This is how you play it. There's no idea. There's not even a concept of freedom. Something goes on the side. So almost the only place you find this type of skill freedom, where it's more about your skill and talent, is old school, where I draw you to the table not because it's AD&D 1, it's because I'm a good dungeon master. Right? Because if I'm the middleman, then yeah, a lot of people could just take my place. Who cares? That has nothing to do with who I am. Right? It's an untalented person with no charisma could take my place, and you might even come back. I don't know. That was a killer for me. I liked the idea that there was enough freedom that I can earn you coming back to my game. With 5e, it's like I feel like it's just, why am I here, dude? I don't even get this. I feel no passion. There's no connection for me to what's going on because the book runs the game, not me. And the second the book runs the game, I go, what? I'm a slave. I feel like a slave. I'm not having fun like the player. I'm sitting here doing a job. Now it is just a job. There's no passion, no nothing. So old school lets you play your passion and lets you put your skill forward, and it makes it you have fun. with the new school WotC, I felt like it took that away from us.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely, it was a tonal shift, and that's, like I said, there's been some times, in the evolution of Dungeons and Dragons, where the tonal shift was so extreme that you no longer feel like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. That happened with fourth edition for sure, and for some of us who skipped over all of those editions and we went from AD&D first or second edition and then jumped to 5, you saw that like stark tonal difference, right? It's like that's a real big leap, between those two things, and it's like it never felt like D&D to me when I first started playing 5e, and I lasted of all of maybe like 6 sessions of playing 5e, and I was like, the only time I somewhat enjoyed it was when they took out a lot of the stuff and made it more like old school to begin with. So
it's not that the book encourages you to do that, but we're lucky there's some creative people in that part of the hobby that just do it anyway.
Yeah. And I've come across people who will take a game system and say, well, how would I run this game system in an OSR way in order to kind of bring us in on it, capture us in on it. So yeah, there's it all comes down to what we've been circling around to several times now. What works at your table? What's working at your table, it when it's working at your table, just like when it's when it didn't. It reminds me very much of, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a retired school teacher. All right.
Yes, I do know that about
I was a school teacher for 26 years in a middle school, inner city middle school, South Bronx. And I knew when I had the students in the palm of my hand, and I knew when the lesson was a total freaking disaster. They weren't grasping it, they didn't care about it, and
in a way, you're having that sort of DM experience with your class, like
it's like so
you're performing.
So it's you're performing, and you're trying to just like lay it out for them where they understand what's going on, and it's like it's the kind of thing like when it's working and when it's not immediately. You can see, and you have to be very fast. This is where the, being, improv is so important for a dungeon master, just like it is for a teacher. You have to be quick on your feet, and just recover from that. That also comes from military training as well, because, we used to call that change 99, because they used to change what you were planning on doing. And Max can certainly relate to this too.
I bet you would agree with this. If you're indecisive, that's what hurts you. It's you need to be someone who can just find ways of thinking. So especially if you're throwing out like a general thing where it could be 20,000 things, you need to be able to go, okay, not this, not this, not this, and just eliminate things and go that down, go forward. And if you can't do that, improvising will not be your thing. You can improve if you are indecisive at first, and just you got to be willing to fall on your face, as I say, a DM or somebody in life like you as a teacher. You got to be willing to fall on your face. But the other thing is, when things start not going your way, you get the best lesson as a teacher for a DM. A lot of guys, when it doesn't go their way, the whole session craps because they don't try to recover, and then some of them can walk away. I'm like, man, just because the session is going bad, even if you're unhappy with that first hour, you still need to be willing to go, I can turn this around, and say that to yourself and believe it. Like, really believe it. I can turn this around. And I have where players went, yeah, session was really dry for the first hour, man, but then you just picked it up, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, because I never gave up.
Yeah.
Now, that's important. And that's probably what you're learning there as a teacher. Don't just crap it out because you're having a bad go. You just got to pick yourself up, make decisions, move forward. That's all. I missed what Max said there. Something Simpy Gumby or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what he means by that, but funny.
Yeah. So yeah. I felt like, what am I doing here? Just playing 5e. No one should just play one thing. That's my only advice to you. All right. If you want to take anything from me, is you need to broaden your horizons. Different game systems, different genres. Try, play your hat if you haven't game mastered yet. Try it, give it a shot. Don't worry, don't overthink it. Don't worry about it too much. Just go out there and give it a shot. And then, but if you still enjoy just playing, then just play and play different types of characters. Whatever you can do to
Here's where I think
experience this hobby. That's
I
what I recommend
this is a strong point of the OSR, because I know you're an OSR guy that wants to promote this. So let's give a little love here, flowers to the OSR. Even if you didn't like too many other game systems, the one beautiful thing about the OSR is the different experiences. Mm-hmm. So even if you're not too worried about just playing different games, but you don't want to just get pigeonholed into one type of thing, the OSR is a beautiful thing. There are so many different ways you can come at maybe the same mechanics, but there's, at the end of the day, I actually don't have a problem with similar mechanics, because they do that with some video games that works really well if you just already know how to W goes forward. You know what I mean? Like certain elements are the same, but I like the idea with the OSR that the themes are all very different for different experiences. Mm-hmm. But here's an example. I'm covering a lot of different games on my channel. As you know, I'm starting a World of Darkness game next week. I've done World of Darkness before, but that's just an example of me stretching out. If you don't try other games, at least a smidgen of try, you won't know why we tell you it's so valuable. So you have to have the nerve to do it. The challenge today could be finding people that do it. See, we're spoiled. I was definitely spoiled. And the old school was so active in gaming and so well connected, regardless of lack of internet to a degree. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, it was just a better connection. It was like people just had to have the nerve. So on here, you can sort of half-ass. You get so many try, but sometimes that can hurt you because you'll then won't end up connecting with people. Mm-hmm. When you have no choice but to take your chance, when you're going, you have to be willing to connect with anybody you meet to have any stretch. But in a way that leads to you trying all these different things. You got to try different games, not just because of what you learn. You almost got to learn what you like about the game you do like. Mm. Meaning sometimes you'll play the game, but you won't appreciate what you're doing. It's only until you get over here and you go, I hate this. I love this thing over here. Yeah. But here's one thing I would say about playing one game for a long time, because I've done that with second edition, regardless of my stretching out. I actually don't think you should stretch yourself to. Here's an opinion. It's opinion. Mm-hmm. I actually think it's okay to have a core game. Here's my only argument. There are certain techniques as a game master that are going to be true for every game you ever play. Mm-hmm. When, at least my opinion, little things like just doing interaction, social interaction, like just similar things. Like it's talk about basic stuff, not game rules, like just really basic gameplay. If you're stretching yourself with all these different games, you can be trying to do it different here, trying to do it different here, trying to do it different here. I'm like, what's just basic role play, man? I found that if I did it a lot with one thing and got really good, when I finally went to run World of Darkness, I ran it better because of getting mastering what I felt was areas by just getting used to one game for a while. Yeah. And so by mastering certain things, I get over there and go, I don't got to relearn the wheel running World of Darkness. I got to learn the difference in rules and that, but I don't got to relearn the wheel on so many basic things, right? Adam, there are times when you think you're crashing as a DM, but players don't know, and they're having a great time. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, what they say, don't let them see you sweat, So yeah, you don't have to trade. Like you don't have to let them know, like, this thing is totally falling apart. You have to seamlessly switch gears. And same thing in the classroom. Like you can't let them see that they broke you. All right, 100%. That was one thing that I never did. And that was one thing that I've actually had kids after, I had them for like one group of kids I had for 4 years straight, like, because they came to me. I had them, they were in my building for grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. And that one time I had a 5th grade class, even though I wasn't licensed to teach 5th grade. But this particular cycle, they let us loop with them because they were experimenting to see what it would be like. So I had the same group of kids for 4 years. And one of the kids going at the end, like he was graduating from 8th grade, and he turned to me. This is still a kid I talked to today. He's like 32 years old now,
Cool.
and he goes, Mr. Salati, he said, you never lost it in the classroom. You never cursed. And he says, how could that have been? Like, you never cursed. And I was like, that's just, I said, believe me, I curse in the real world. All right. But you're not going to see that. You're not going to hear that from me because I am a professional. And I treat you with that respect that, and, you never saw me break, because, did I have bad days? Absolutely. When did I let that steam off? On my hour and a half drive home. It was the greatest thing to have a long commute.
Yeah, I bet you that comes from your military background as well.
Yeah, and it's just it's just a thing where when you're running the table, all right, and don't let the players see that you're getting frustrated, particularly with them. Like, don't let them see you getting frustrated with them. Just try to work through it and try to get them not going in a direction that you want them to go in, because I don't want you, I don't want it to sound like I'm telling you to railroad them, but get them in a direction that they believe they have the illusion of. I think Max said this one time, give them the illusion that they had this choice to go in several different directions, and you kind of have an idea of what you're going to do with that, and you get it back on track. All right, without them really realizing that it has fallen apart, at least in your mind.
Well, when it comes to that can vary too, because I say prioritize for me. People be like, they'll tell me like, what if you get them back on track going down this road? I'm like, well, I was a campaign DM, so I was like, I don't care if they take 2 sessions to get down to here. I don't. The pace, it just doesn't. In a certain way, doesn't matter to me how fast we get to things because I'm so used to doing campaign. Now, one shots, this is where I agree with you. If I need to be a little railroady in one shots, it might, like Max said, create a bit of illusion so they don't feel like they're too forced down something. Mm-hmm. You want them to feel like they had some choice. But I don't do quantum ogres. I don't do none of that because I can improvise. Look, at this stage, I mean, maybe when I was young, it was a hard problem, but improvising is like breathing air for me. I'm not bragging. It's just as long as I make sure I know the system well, then I can improvise. I can literally. I don't like doing this because I think it's a lazy game master mode, and I think you always should do some work. But if I come with like a pile of notes like this for a session, and the players are like, we're going the other way, and I realize everything I have is like, okay, all right, so we're going to go fucking 8 hours on the top of my head. I get compliments now, and I'm trying to brag, but it's just because I'm so used to, like, remember I said that general thing and learning how to make quick decisions?
Yeah.
I can do it to the point where I've almost edited things as you're getting to it. So I get compliments from players, like, I'll be like, yeah, man, how that session go? It's like, you must have worked on that for a while. I was like, man, you had everything ready. How could you have that already? That was all improvised, dude. No, come on, you're bullshitting me. I'd move the thing. Take a look. I have no notes for what you did. And you'd be like, how? And the whole table would be shocked. But it's just because I can make decisions so fast that by the time you're getting to the thing where you turn, this is why I don't do quantum ogres. I run the game the way I want to play it. And I don't want to be fooled by a game master. So if he says that the encounter is right, but I want to go left, I want a game master that lets me get away from the fight.
Yeah, because it does. Yeah, you'll eventually become, such well attuned to what you're hoping for that you have less planning. I mean, first year teachers have to plan like crazy. All right, it's a 16-hour day when you're a brand new teacher.
Yeah.
By your second year, you've cut your planning in half. All right.
It's like learning to take notes as a DM. I see new DMs have like 2 paragraphs worth of something written down, but like you could have wrote down 5 words and remember everything.
You're planning and improvising. Like I literally had a map and a few ideas in my head, preconceived ideas in my head for our game session last night. I don't have to plan for 4 players. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's such an easy thing for me to do that kind of a gameplay, because I let them guide me as to where they want to go with it, and then I just on the fly can throw a lot together because it's a small group. So that
I'm
makes it a
humble
lot
enough
easier.
to say this. I'm humble enough to say this about my players sometimes. Sometimes I don't know if I have over the years, I have the most exciting adventure or something ready to go. And then by letting them just go away from all my work, the adventure is more fun with what they choose.
Yeah.
And I have personally more fun with their choices than my own ideas. I'm like, man, I would have never done this. I'm so glad I just let players do what they want. Become the water.
We have a Bruce Lee. We have a Bruce Lee quote now. Become the water. Yes, and that's exactly it. I mean, that is what the key to improv is knowledge, of the material in the first place. And what you were saying earlier was that you can take that from game to game to game if you have that core basics down. I'm going to give you another analogy. All right. Okay. My older daughter was a competitive dancer, a semi-commercial dancer. Cool. All right. And we used to ask them, like, how could you get ready for a competition with a new dance routine in just a couple of weeks before you're on stage? All right. And sometimes they're on stage on television and that kind of thing. And she said, because there's only like 10 or 12 different actual dance moves. And then it's just a matter of putting those 10 or 12 in a particular sequence along with a song tempo and everything. So that takes the most time. It's not learning the dance steps. It's just tying them to the beats. The beats.
Does that make sense? Exactly. I get what she's saying. She's saying,
it's just tying it to the music. All right. And then just coordinating with the 4, 5, 6 other dancers at the table where they have to be in sequence. That takes a lot more than that's where all the weeks comes from, is getting that down. But she says, but you don't have to relearn those same 8 dance steps. You know what I'm saying? Those are always the same across the board. If she says, if you watch all of these over and over again and you watch every other competition team out there, you're going to see the same dance moves, just in a different sequence. And that's the core. So what you were saying is exactly right. You're going to take some of your core, basics. This is how I run the game. And you can take that to any game system and it'll work. All right.
It really does.
If you don't have that core experience, you're going to struggle until you develop that core experience, so you might not be great for your first couple of tries at it, your first couple of goes at it, but you're going to pick it up, in time. And probably
I just found that practice, like if you're doing this game one week, this game the next week, it's an inconsistency where you're breaking a pattern of practice. Like you're practicing it here, and if you can just get used to it here, that practice to me develops the thing. If you spread yourself out too much too early, as a game master, not player, you should play everything. But as a game master, I would say, every so often jump to other games, but really invest some serious time into one, just for the practice sake of getting used to that line. So you get used to these techniques in a more controlled, consistent way, right? Like it's consistent. You're going to run the role play here, and you're not just varied all over, and you're not focused on all these other things because you get to get rid of the rules. So, say second edition, I ran for a long time. After a month, I don't get to think about the rules now, remember? Now I can just focus on all that stuff. If I'm jumping to each game, I'm constantly needed to focus on rules, and it becomes somewhat inconsistency focus away from the other basic shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like little role play here. But, dude, I just get on this line and then stretch as a game master, not player, but it still is good. I agree with you. Like, I agree with everyone who says this. At a certain point, make sure you're trying. I ran World of Darkness, like I said, when I was younger. I did Palladium games. I did like I'm going to cover Tunnels and Trolls soon, like an older game. I love running older games. But I made sure I had a variety, and I do see the value and understanding other games because you learn things that your main game might not do. And sometimes giving D&D the freedom of adapting so much. I love this about D&D, old school TSR.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's a better game to adapt other ideas to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder for me to, like, I could sort of run a D&D game based on World of Darkness, but it is a bit harder for me to take the rules of D&D and apply it to World of Darkness. It's easier for me to take ideas from World of Darkness rules and adapt them to the D&D game.
Mm-hmm.
D&D is a lovely system, old school, mind you, not what's the old
Right,
school.
right.
It's a lovely, no matter which edition either, where you can take an idea. Like, I like that rule. I might not like the whole game. That rule is genius. Apply it here. And now we got a good game, D&D, which we know that works. And now this cool idea gets to work in the system that way. You know what I mean? It's just that. I did a lot of that experimenting when I was young with D&D.
As a GM, it's hard to switch unless OSR is mostly the same in rules. Yeah, it's and most OSR games are the same core rules.
Yeah,
they just have different a different feel to them in some cases, you know. And but yeah, you can transfer. The only problem I have with some OSR games is because I run different ones at the same time, I conflate some of their rules from one to the other. It's like,
I can see that.
No, this is Dragon Slayer. This is an OSC. Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. Or that's a Shadow Dark rule, and you're bringing it over into here. It's like, all right, yeah, I get it. You know,
we should warn potential people that want to get into the OSR. Here's a warning to them: take advice when you start looking at OSR and you think it's decent. Really take the top 10 or top 50 advice series, because some of it's good, some of it's a money grab. And we have to be honest about that. I think some of the clones are a money grab, where I'm like, that maybe the other OSR games are great, but I think that one's a money grab. And if we should recognize it before it happens more, because there will be money grabs that are less about caring. I threw this together here because I don't mean to criticize a bit of the OSR, but I do see, you know this, and I felt corny even advertising my game. I took 15 years to make a game from scratch, right? Like, I would actually call myself a real independent game designer. Did it from scratch. No cloning, no nothing. Some of the guys out there, the work they do, I respect. Like Pundit, regardless to some of my opinions, I respect the work he's put into his product. Yeah. I do. Genuinely respect it. Some guys out there, they take the copy and pasting too far. It's so lazy, and then they want the same respect. And I could be a little offended by that. Like, man, I took 15 years. You fucking copied and pasted, and now you're out there like, look at me, I'm a serious game designer. I'm like, I actually think you'd fall apart in the conversation about game design. I think you did just too much copy and pasting. So we should watch out for those people, because the OSR we should care about the OSR. This is not to offend people. We should say we want the OSR to have serious people. I think we should respect the top people and set a standard saying, if you want to be OSR and us take you serious as customers, don't spit in our face. Yeah. Don't do a copy and paste and try to make cheap money off us. Right? Because we should make sure there's a standard in the OSR which says, if you want to get the respect, do work like Pundit or the Fire Prince or something, like that type of game. Yeah. Do that work, you'll get the respect. We'll invest our money in you. That's all. Yeah, I know that's a very reoccurring theme. Sometimes, like a criticism of the OSR is that I don't need any more OSR games. There's too many D&D basic clones out there. There's just not enough dramatic difference between one and the other. I can see that. I don't criticize the amount. That's not even my issue, because some people say it's bloat, and I'm like, actually, I don't see bloat as a problem. Here's my only issue. I don't care if there's 500 OSR games. Is it 500 good games with good ideas? But I don't give a fuck. I mean, pick what you want, but I'm not going to bother criticizing. It's only when we start getting guys that go, I don't respect the customer. I don't respect the hobby. I'm only here for the money, and I'm making almost no work to this. Copy, paste, put it out, go, pay me, I'm a game designer. Those guys should be almost ostracized. Right. We should catch them. No, I agree with you. Yeah.
I also don't think that there's actually 500 good ideas about
No, I agree.
I don't think
I was
there's
just
that
trying to
many at
make.
all.
I was trying to make
I
a
know
point, yeah.
you're just throwing that number out there. But yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of it. You know, I don't want to I don't want to say, hey, you shouldn't be allowed to. But no, if somebody's gonna, you
Oh,
know,
you can make the game, but it's
yeah,
just
you
I
can
think
make the
that
game,
the
you can
customers
publish it, you
shouldn't
could do
support them.
whatever,
Yeah.
and you know, a fool and his money will soon part. And if
Yeah.
people want to buy it, they're going to buy it or whatever. Um, you know, I need to be able to look at a game system and say, you know what, there's enough in here that I find really interesting, you know, or potentially unique to buy it, you know,
Yeah.
and then there's others, there's very few that I've actually picked up, and I was like, wow, this was actually a waste of money,
I
you know.
wish the OSR was a
Because
company because
it didn't
it's
teach
like,
me anything. There was nothing in here that I haven't seen before,
yeah,
you
but
know.
I
And
wish the OSR was a company because here's what I would say is, as we bring new people in, we want to make sure when they meet the OSR, they have a good experience because that keeps them. Like it's no good to us if we get one purchase, the guy walks away, has a shitty time, and says, "I never fucking touch that game again. Screw the old school." We never want a customer saying that or somebody coming into this part of the hobby. If the OSR is meant to attract new blood, you want people that pick up the top games. That's why we hope that they check out the top 10, top 50, top whatever, and then get. Oh well, that's one of my haters. I'm going to ignore that. You can leave it
I've
up.
never seen his name, so I have no idea. But well, at Rotted Teeth, I've never seen you on my channel before, so welcome. And
He probably won't be back either.
yeah, you're probably seeing something, you know, very very unexpected and new,
Yeah.
And that's basically, you know, what my channel is about. And
Oh, yeah.
again, it's
Oh, like I said, I don't care if you
yeah,
react to people. I said before we got on here, my only thing
yeah,
is there's some people because of the way they treated me, I have no respect for, and I will not interact with them on my own channel, and I will not respond to their comments on
yeah,
yours. That's all I said before we started. You can flash them up, you can respond. I will simply ignore certain people, and it's just
yeah,
because I'm here to help you. I'm not here to cause any drama. But I know guys that are going to be haters that are never going to be back to your channel. They're probably not even going to sub to you. So probably a
yeah.
lack of support coming your way from them. But
You
yeah,
know, but yeah, I see that, you know, someone is pointing out that you have, you know,
I
again,
have.
there's a difference between saying like I agree with this person 100%, and then saying, you know, on the other hand, or I disagree with this person 100%, but I understand where they're coming from, or I
It's like
give them I give credit where it's due.
exactly
You know, you can genuinely dislike someone's product and still
get along with them.
give them credit for, you know, where
Hard
it's
work.
right.
It's
Yeah,
like hard work.
you give them credit for the hard work. You know, I haven't experienced this yet, you know, but you know, going to a convention, like let's say I go to a convention and I had a piss poor time at that convention. It
Yeah.
just wasn't well organized or blah, 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 you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't experienced this. All right, but
Yeah.
but I would still walk away with that convention and still say that person that put it together took a humongous risk in doing that, and I give them credit for taking on that kind of a challenge. Whether they were successful at it or not is a different story. But the point is that they took that tremendous risk, and I have to give them credit for that.
Well, here's the issue I've had over the years. I'm like, guys, we're public people. So when I put an opinion out there, I think people can disagree with me without hating me.
Yeah,
And I'll have people that because some people don't like me, they'll paint me disagreeing with an idea as an attack on someone.
yeah,
So when people say I hated pundit in the past, it wasn't really the case. And if you notice, even if I don't like somebody, even if they mistreat me, I've defended people on free speech grounds. I did it for Shonor when he was alive. I have a video up for Pundit defending his right to free speech when they tried to censor him. Maxley Al, he sort of forgot about it, but we talked about it last time. I did a video for him when he was being censored. He even covered it on his own stream at the time. He was surprised that I did it because me and him had just had some heat. And I just started the video going like, this pisses me off because I just had heat with this guy. Now I'm going to fucking come out and defend him because I was a little pissed off at Max at that moment. So I was like, but I'm a principle guy. So I believe in free speech, and I'll put my anger aside and I'll go by principle. I found over the years, a lot of guys that deal with me here, I don't know, I find them to be immature. I don't know, just saying, because to disagree with them, you hate them. And then they got to attack you. They can't just talk back to you, right? It's like, dude, I just disagreed. I don't hate you at all. And you're a public person. They take everything as an attack. I'm like, you are not safe when you are a public person making a comment. You're not in a bubble. I don't put myself out here being delusional. I don't come out and go, I said something out loud, but somebody's disagreeing with me. They must hate me. Like, dude, I'm a public person. Everyone has the right to disagree with me, and I should not assume all this negative crap along with the disagreement unless they personally make personal targeted attacks. Like, oh, I think Condor is a piece of this, and he's no good. If you say that, okay, well, that's actually attacking me, right? Outside of the disagreement. But if I hear a video and I'm like, no, that's disagreement. The other thing is I don't let anybody tell me what other people have done. So it's like they might say, DM Bluddworth just did an attack on you. I don't know how many times I've been told, some of the people around this circle, including yours, I've been told they're attacking me. I go, listen. No, he just disagreed. Move on. And that's it. That's all. I don't even have an attitude towards it. Disagree. I'm glad that because a lot of guys would scream at me, and I'd be like, well, why do you think I attacked you? Somebody told me. Well, why didn't you just fucking check it out yourself, dude? I didn't. You know, I have haters out there that will paint everything I do as bad. So if you know this, go check it out so we don't have that issue. Because, well, you know personally, DM Bluddworth, I've been painted so, I think, wrongly and not given a fair shake on a lot of things that it's just people like to take me out of context and like to paint a false picture of me. Because here's what happened. I noticed when I was early YouTube, when I finally started getting heat, I would put out a gaming opinion. I got a bunch of guys wouldn't like say my video, 3-minute video about miniatures where I didn't really like miniatures. And I knew they were mad about it, but I didn't say anything wrong. Remember, gaming is personal though. So this is they're taking something that's innocent personal. But they could not justify freaking out at me over just me saying I don't like miniatures. I mean, you're older men, so these older men could not they look stupid. So what they do, Steven is this, Steven is that, or take me out of context. See how bad he is? Now we can justify attacking him, but we're only really angry about his opinion about the game.
Yeah. I mean, I've never gotten into the mindset of, hating or anything like that. I mean, I reserve hatred for, for very, very select individuals that, and it's just a different level of, and most of the time I don't even know those people personally.
Some guys can't let it go. That's the other thing that surprised me.
That's the other thing is that, and I don't mean just like, don't know them personally, like I don't know them on the online persona, or no, even less than that. It's like the Osama bin Ladens or the Saddam Hussein's. Those are the kind of people I put in that category. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when I when I look at people who I think that just don't get along with, or I wouldn't reach out to, or I wouldn't.
People I wouldn't like.
There's a few people, like very few people out there, but there are a few people out there, YouTubers in particular, that I'm like, you know what? I'm not even reaching out to this person before, or I tried reaching out once, and then it got thrown back at me, and it's like, because I am like that kind of olive branch kind of person. That's just kind of my.
I've had some guys just not let it go. Like, even if I say nothing to them, it's just the constant going at me for years. It's
Yeah.
like I could understand the first 2 times they reacted to me and were mad or something. Okay, fair enough, man. I'm a public person. You have all the right in the world to even trash me, hate me, do all that stuff. You have all the right in the world to publicly do that. But I'm not saying nothing back to you. And it's like, okay, it's been 6 months and it's been up and down. Do you stop now? And then like a year later, dude, I haven't talked about you in forever. What, you still going on? And then it'd be like 2 years later, like, dude, I haven't mentioned you in my content in the 2 years. Like, are you ready to take a break?
Yeah.
Right? It's like 3 years in, I'm going, when does this stop? And then they want to talk. Here's the weirdest thing I've had with guys not liking me. They won't like me and they'll go on like this and do all these character assassination attacks on me. And then they'll be like, do you want to come on the stream? And I'm like, well, you need to make yourself approachable, dude. Like, you need to stop verbally killing my character, my reputation online. You got to take a break. And then I can come on your stream. I can approach you. But how foolish does it look? Hey, Condor is a piece of shit. He's no good. I'm going to tear him down to pieces. Hey, you want to come on my stream next week so my audience can keep hating you? You won't grow. You won't get anything out of it. But I'll get something out of it. And I get to humiliate you on the stream. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, why would I agree to that? Why would I agree to that? Like, why don't you come on and defend yourself? Well, it's not me that made all this shit. I never created the heat. I don't got to defend from nothing. I will not defend myself when you created bullshit. That's on you. Tell your audience I'm not as bad as you say I am. You fix it, and then I'll come on your stream. That's what I tell people. You cause this, not me. I won't come and fix up a problem you caused for me. Now, if it was my own doing that I had that reputation, then fair enough. I should step up. That's me cause that. But if you cause that, you have to make space for me to come on. And we're all content creators here. You go to anywhere else in the world with content creation, those people are nice to each other for the sake of being able to do content, or at least fair with each other. Fair, if nothing else. I just never got a fair shake from some people. If you want me to come on the stream and have this excellent gaming talk, you need to make space where I don't look like a jackass for doing it. You got to make it where, and then like coming on here, I know I could probably get some people to open up to me because we're going to have a great talk, but that's even to help you too. But if I go on certain guy streams, I get no subs. I hate this. I'm a YouTuber. I am looking for this stuff. I get no subs, no likes. I get a moment to help build that guy up for a second who's been tearing me to pieces for years. I walk away with nothing, but he got something. Why should I reward someone trying to tear me down? Because he's getting something out of it and I'm not. I don't want to reward you for treating me like trash. See, it's certain very popular guys too. Big guys that have asked me to go on their streams, big names in our circle. But I'm in the opening of a stream. He trashes me all the time based on deceit too, not even honest stuff. And then it's like, you want to come on? Dude, you make me not like you. I am a human being. I am a human being, right? If you make me not like you, I'm not addicted to the YouTube thing. The content is secondary to me as far as, I want to grow. I want to do all those things. But if I don't like you, it's common sense. I don't want to talk to you. Right?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to say to a guy like that? I just don't know. You got to make room for me to come on. And I think I've done that with you and Max. I make room for you guys to socially come on without looking like jackasses for coming on. Since you guys went, we had no beef for a long time, or little clashes we've had in the past. That's what's put aside. I was like, you know what? We're at peace. We can approach each other. Let's do it. Let's forget about the past, because I'm willing to do that on this one, because you guys have been good. So I was like, and it's not like I'm a perfect human being, so I'm not putting any blame just on you two. I have my, part of the blame on any clash we've had in the past, right? So it's a two-way street, but it's like we haven't had that issue in a long time. Yeah. Okay, I think we can approach each other and get something good out of it.
Yeah. I mean, our clash was probably like 2 years ago, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, it all boiled down to, and really this is how simple it was that
and the timing, you have to admit, I was getting attacked a lot.
Right, but it all came down, to, I think, it all came down to, you didn't think I watched your video in its entirety. All right. And, I kept on saying, yes,
I took the comments
the whole thing.
I was nice to you.
Yeah.
You made a comment and here was my only issue with you.
Yeah.
You made a comment. Now, I responded to you with a certain thing that actually cleared up what you thought. But the thing is, all I did was typed out what I said in the video. And I'm like, well, if you're okay with what if that clears up your confusion,
Yeah, you know what
why
it was,
didn't
though?
you hear that part in the video? Because that all I did, and I literally even did the quotations. And you said, "Man, I wish I would have heard that in the video." And you even said that to me. I wish I would have heard that in the video. I was like,
no, you know what it was?
What said in the video.
It was the timing, like you said, timing. The timing was internally to the video. See, what I sometimes do, is I'll hear something and type a comment in. Then I'll continue and type another comment in. All right, which sometimes it backfires, or sometimes it might give you the impression of, well, you didn't listen to the whole thing, even though the comments weren't reflecting that, but in its entirety, and again, it's something that's a stupid thing to argue.
You're trying to make, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's a stupid thing to argue over, and
the timing was a bit off.
You've been saying over and over again, we're all adults. That's why I was like, when you came out with your game, I wanted to reach out to you. I think it was before you came out with your game. I wanted to touch bases with you with AD&D second edition. That's what
I think you've reached. I think there was some part of me that wanted to talk to you. I think that was, you made repeated attempts to open the door. I remember hearing in a few streams where you said, "Yeah, I'd have Condor on anytime he wants to come on."
I've always been open on my channel. I will welcome virtually anybody, and I'm not saying that you're like this despicable person. I guess I will let you come in too. No, I mean it in a sense of.
No, I got some of that. I heard guys say,
literally,
even though he's a piece of shit, I'll let him on.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, and I said this to you. I was like, I have no fear on the internet of anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I will talk to somebody and have a clash with them. I will.
It's not even fair. I just have no social
and have a great conversation with them. I'm up for anything. On my channel, with very, very few exceptions.
The
what I'm saying?
The timing of our heat was just this. You got to remember, it's not trying to. People think this is bragging, but it just happens. So I don't know what to say to people. There is still 2 streams every week attacking me, even if it's not the whole stream. But it's all character assassination, and you know how important our reputation is here on YouTube. It decides if we grow or if we lose people. Yeah. So if you're destroying my reputation, I start losing people. It craters me in on YouTube, and this is happening to me. Understand? I'm doing great, charismatic content. I know what I'm talking about, as people know. But I'm losing people, even though I'm doing good content when I should be growing. But I'm losing people because people are bold-faced lying about me on their fucking content, and it kills my reputation. Yeah. And then people assume things. And I had 3 to 4 videos at that point. It wasn't the so 5, but I would say 3 to 4 instead of like 3 to 5, 7 videos being made focused on attacking me. And then 2 streams on average every week, nonstop. And this is not even part of the 16-month run where they did it nonstop to me. This was after that, and they're still on a 6-month run doing nonstop attacks on me. And then I'm interacting with you while I'm getting all this heat from people that you're around, and I'm like, of course I got cautious about people. I felt like I was in a war on here.
I'm just going to say, Edgelord, hell no. I am not Mr. Rogers. Trust me, I am not Mr. Rogers. But listen, I want to move on from this.
Oh, of course.
Let's get right back over to this sentiment right here. My goal is for free, positive, and supportive hobby that helps and serves one another. Absolutely. Thank you, Agile. And let's get right back on to that, at this point. So,
I'm very supportive of even guys that
I want to get back to, the gaming that we love, and in some cases, the games that we love. So, let's start swinging this back around to
it's like going to Birthright
second edition.
So Birthright. People were asking about Birthright.
Yeah, let's talk about Birthright, because I have, other than other than no, I'm confusing that with something else. So Birthright, I know nothing about. All right, so give me the elevator pitch of why I should start digging into Birthright.
Birthright is, well, first off, I would say you better no one shots with this game. This is not made for one shots. It'd be useless to even try that type of game. Birthright is if you really appreciate campaign play and the balance of the session. Every session doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need 30% combat or so much of this. So first off, I want people to put that aside. Don't be looking for that. If you like the idea of a little bit like leading an army, but you really like to get into the tedious factors of leading armies, leading people, and not just doing combat adventure gaming, if you're into that type of sort of view of above controlling, like it's more like a war game, and this really linked into war gaming. This was a war gaming thing. This is it's a step away from the normal role play that you expect from D&D. It's really like looking down from above. Okay, so just tell him I absolutely love Birthright. Managed over the years to collect and almost use content for a few things missing in the collection. Yeah. When I had to do a refresh on Birthright, just remember I haven't done it in a long time, so it's a little vague. It's hard to remember every detail. But from just gaming experience, you have to be someone who is. This is a shared. Let's lean a bit towards the bro shared world stuff, but this is almost like a shared world type of concept where players do have a way more influence and effect on the game than regular gaming, right? Yeah, like the 100 Years' War. It's time jumping is different, right? So you will do large scale time jumping sometimes, and you can do that. But it really is about what if I said manage a business, but not run a normal game? Like we need to get into the details of you going around and talking to your leader who's going to manage your business. Well, this is sort of like what happens in Birthright.
So it's essentially domain play. Yeah, it's domain play. It's
exactly that.
Yeah, and it's I mean, as far as the 100 Years' Wars, that's another RPG pundit thing that he did with what's it called, Albion, something of Albion, right? Which is the 100 Years' War. So yeah, there's
first off, you got to be okay with don't have an expectation that you're going to play a D&D adventure.
Yeah,
like just erase that out of your head before you start. Like just get rid of that. And this is why it failed, because that's only a few people in our hobby. So I had a hard time recruiting for Birthright, almost fucking impossible. Because once the guys realized what it was, they were like, the idea sounds really great, Steven. But fuck, I don't want to do that. Because they want to do what you would think. They want to go cut goblins in half. What the fuck is this? I got to manage an army? I'm not a war gamer. And most people, see, here's the funny thing, and I talked to Gary about this. Gary agreed with him. They talk about wargaming all the time in our hobby. Most wargamers never crossed over with Gary, and Gary had his own wargaming group, so he could tell you straight up, most of the guys actually rejected what they were doing with D&D.
Yeah.
They hated it and called it the fairy game. Made fun of it all the time. In a weird way, they made fun of D&D the way D&D guys made fun of World of Darkness. Because that was a pussy's game right there. Some theater kid, fuck them. They're a bunch of. I'm joking. I did World of Darkness, but understand, I just heard so many guys that would laugh at me like, "Oh, you're over there playing the girls' game, are you?" I'm like, "Fuck off, guys. It's a good game. No, that's a girls' game." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Go play your men game with D&D. Go kill your." Like, it was that type of attitude from the wargamer. So. Most of the guys that actually entered the hobby, and this is where Frank Metzner and Mulvane were really genius. They got this. They knew the majority of people that were going to be in the hobby were not war gamers.
Right.
They knew that. They understood it right away. And if you look at the basic stuff, you'll understand that. But this is Birthright is leaning into wargaming, and I sort of knew this was going to be sour. I loved the stuff because I did this weird stuff in some of my games where you could start a business. And so, but I'd actually run this with, there'd be the adventure part, and then there might be 3 or 4 months between the adventure where you could be in the town and we start a business for you. So I start getting into some of the stuff. The guys didn't mind some of that, but they said, if that was the game, I wouldn't be here. Like, they liked it when we did it because it's minimal amounts of it, right? They said if that's the game, we wouldn't be here. That was Birthright. Birthright absolutely failed on the market because it was that. It's a lot more tedious. Like, you got to focus on what your guys are doing, what influence you have, and if you don't care about your reputation, you're going to fail at the game. Like, as a player, it doesn't mean you failed if you make mistakes. What I mean is, if you're just careless about that, it's not made for you. Like, you need to be okay with the lack of adventuring. Sometimes there's an adventure, though. Sometimes we get back to this. So it just take a period of time. You got to do a lot of this, and then we could do a bit of a D&D adventure, right? Because now the king can leave, right? The king can go on an adventure because the king sorted out all his guards to take care of his shit while he was gone. Let me go to Edgelord King. I'm going to give you a talk here about 3rd edition and 2nd edition. A lot of people say 2nd edition leads to 3rd edition. I'm like, bullshit. And here's my argument to that. I'm talking about core 2nd ed. Us DMs for 2nd edition, core 2nd ed is the game. Remember, it's out long before the splat books. Splat books are a lot of money grabbing crap. And it's a lot of guys that are at TSR that wanted to try stuff that just wouldn't sell to us. But how do you try stuff that normally doesn't sell to us? Splat books, right? And the splat books are a money grab. Now, some of the ideas are good. Like kits, I found kits help people role play. Like, for a lot of guys that didn't have, like, what do I do? I'm playing a fighter. I'm like, do you want to make a carpenter? So you could make your own kits too on top of the kits they have. Want to make a carpenter kit? And then right away, they'd start the game. I'm a carpenter who does construction. Like, they'd have an idea, but their goals.
Yeah.
They want to do. And some guys could, look, we have a mix of players. You know this, Richard. We have players that can be creative without nothing handed to them. I don't need to give him a kit. I don't need to do anything. He's going to get in the game and do a million things. Then we have some players get in the game and they just sit there like, look, what are you doing?
Right.
What do you want me to do, DM? Like, there's some guys you'd swear when they complain about railroads. I'm like, these guys would benefit from a railroad, some players. And there's some players actually that do benefit from railroad gaming. They're actually not that creative as players. They just want to play, but they're like, hey, why do I got to think of what to fucking do? Just get me out of the fucking inn and get me on this goddamn railroad so I can go fucking kill some goblins. Fuck off, DM. I don't even know what to do. I'm like, okay, dude. Yeah, all right. Let's go down. Let's go down this way. That some players, a railroad is to save the game. That's personally from what I've seen anyway. Some players you can get in there and they don't need nothing. I know some that just would, like, I was a player who always said, I wish the DM would just not do anything. Just let me decide what I want to do. And most DMs could
take it easy, Agile. Sorry, I didn't mean
to
interrupt.
No, that's all right. No, but I was a player who always got into games where I get frustrated with the idea of being appointed somewhere because I'm like, dude, I can make the adventure. You just need to be able to run it. Like, I was so thoughtful. I could just get it. Like, if you put me in a sandbox game, do you have to worry about me sitting at the table not knowing what to do? Not at all. Did I actually play with guys that, if it wasn't for me, I would have felt bad for the DM without me around? Where it's like, if there was just these guys, they'd be sitting there at the end, not talking, not doing it, not even having a player think of what to do next. It was almost like I saved that DM's game from being in the game and being the guy. Hey guys, you want to go do this? Yeah, cool. Well, cool, let's do that. But they weren't thinking of anything. If I sat back going, guys, what should we do? It'd be the stupidest question I could ask them. Because they just look back at me and go, and I do that sometimes just to try to, like, not to be a hug as a player. So I'd be like, guys, what do you want to do? We don't know. I'm like, are you okay with me? Yeah. Well, okay, I'm all right, sure. Yeah, okay, let's do this, right? A lot more nonsense, but it's less to do with what kits were. See, this is where I get picky with nerds too. That they would go, some kits suck, some kits were good. I'm like, when you're talking language or having a conversation, pitching something, it's the concept of the kits is what's important in the conversation, in my opinion, right? It's especially in language conversations, we should watch like storytelling. I don't mind people that use storytelling and describe to me something that makes sense, right? Like, I'm cool with that. But I have found the majority of people that mention that we're storytellers use it to justify no character death. So I'm like, well, that's a problem with the language, guys. And I tell the guys that I agree with when they use the term. Do you think it's a problem that the majority of people that use it for an agenda that you don't agree with, and they use you, good guy who talks about storytelling, because your defense of using the word is what they depend on to push their bullshit agenda. Like for me to call them out, hey man, they're just using storytelling for this. Well, that's good. I should call them out. They are just using it for really bullshit, trying to justify something bullshit. But who will defend them? The guy that's using it for a good reason. But I'm like, dude, I'm not against you. Like, I'm not saying it to be against you. I actually agree with you. But you are going to defend these idiots over here. And they're going to use you and use the way you talk about it to defend some bullshit agenda even you don't agree with.
Yeah.
So
no, there's I mean, sometimes like someone brought up earlier on, like the splat books and
I was just going to say the
splat books are
where you get the third edition.
The splat books are something that you're gonna find accurate positives and negatives towards splat books. Because some of them, they did take it a little bit too far, or they.
But almost nobody here's when I hear criticism of second edition, I'm like, I was actually there, active in the hobby, DMing around thousands of people when this stuff came out. So I really had a firsthand look at how the other DMs around me, hundreds of second edition guys, how they used or didn't use them. So all the core rule changes, out of hundreds of guys I knew, not a single one used them. So it's when you criticize second edition based on that, it sounds foreign to the guys who actually did it. It's like we don't even relate with your criticism. Like, and to me, it's you're criticizing second edition for what it wasn't, because the core is second ed. The splat books are all optional side stuff. You should not criticize second edition based on the splat books. It's an unfair criticism too, because nobody uses stuff. And when you get to third edition, it's not the core second ed that inspires third edition. It's not even that we really inspired third edition at all. Some of the guys that worked on third edition worked on the splat books. They took ideas that we ignored, like feats. Feats was in the splat books. We never used them. So I don't want to criticize second edition based on some stupid side idea that nobody used, because that's not the way people experienced it.
Well, I think that the criticism about the splat books were twofold. Some were about the content of the splat books,
of course,
or actually threefold. The other was that the splat books weren't play tested thoroughly.
Well, they were just optional. They even said they didn't feel like they had to.
And then the third is that they were money grab. All right.
Yeah, but you do see a lot of it carry over to third edition. So here's another criticism I hate about second edition. Second edition inspires third edition. I'm like, no, the guys that worked at TSR were the ones that were doing this crap. Pure second edition, the way 99% of people experienced it and DM'd it, you would not be able to say that inspires third edition. The splat book junk and the guys that made that stuff, when they carried over to WotC to work for them, they took these ideas that we rejected, mind you, and started applying to the third edition. So to say what we experienced somehow leads to third edition, there's no second edition person that would sit there and go, yo, that nobody would have experienced that. So I was like, when I heard guys saying that, I'm like, I think you just either don't know second edition, or you just one of these, the game is personal and you're a first ed AD&D guy, and you want to say second edition is trash, right?
So Edgelord, you're talking about these ones, the expanded editions?
Yeah, I never got into the expanded stuff.
Oh, the revised. All right. These were the only ones that I got. So I picked up the revised. I was like, all right,
and when I say core, I'm actually talking about not the revised. I'm talking
the original
about
ones. Yeah. So what is the difference between the revised and the original core?
That they start putting stuff in there that you might have seen come with third edition, at least from what I heard. But I barely dug into the second edition.
This came before third edition, so how could this led to third edition? You're saying
it's the ideas from the splat books, some from the splat books. I heard about the revised. It's just new ideas that weren't there at the original start.
Right, book. They were coming from the splat books then.
Yeah, and I never met people that play. See, by the time the revised comes out, I'm gaming. Like I'm not getting those books. I don't know anybody who's getting them, and everybody said they're shit. So all the second edition guys I knew just said we reject them. So they went and purchased them almost to read them to say they rejected them. I'm just too busy in life to think I need new rules.
Yeah.
So I purposely said if they made changes, I don't care. I'm not running them.
Yeah. Well, they clearly state that they're optional anyway. So
yeah, but I didn't have time either. I wasn't trying to insult people, but it's like or insult that they were Here's why they did the revised. Second edition never got well promoted. Mm-hmm. People have to at least admit the second edition was marketed so piss poorly by the company. It's probably one of the most worst promotional things I've ever seen in my life. But after TSR goes out of business, second edition keeps going strong for like 15 years. Even the first 5 or so years of third edition, if you went online, half the games are second ed, and then 3E. 3E did not totally take over because second edition only got hot after the company went out of business.
Right.
And it's a shame because it just wasn't marketed well. If it had been marketed like the other games, second edition was an improvement. But when you get our customers that are nerds, I'm not hating on people, and they care about things that don't matter, they decide to crucify the game. A lot of people, it's like they'd be like, well, there's no demons. I'm like, dude, but the gameplay is better. And what we do at the table is so important, right? So it's like, that was like, just use the demons from AD&D. You know what? Some did hybrid, but I just found a lot of people just rejected second edition for what they call, it was almost like Edition Wars before 3E comes out, right? And same thing happened with BX in AD&D 1. If you go to the original BX, there's a lot of guys that hated AD&D 1 and felt it would open up to more people. Now, some of them guys curved over to AD&D 1 and gave up their little clash, but there's always been Edition Wars or whatever you want to call them, right? It's just, I really felt like second ed, what I knew when it came out, what I ran, you would not be able to get 3E out of that.
I'm sorry, I'm still listening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're grabbing there, but yeah, the revised books, I just have to admit a little bit of ignorance on that because I just never bothered with them. I even got the green books. I don't know if they're almost the same, but I have
the green books are the originals. That's what someone mentioned, that the green books were the original ones. I
have 7 players' handbooks for second edition original stuff that's untouched. I have 4 Dungeon Master's guides. I have 6 monster manuals untouched, all original. Mm-hmm. I have the set of green books. I never dug into them. I never bothered with the revived black books. I got the original books, and that was it. Mostly because at that stage in my life, I wasn't rich, and I couldn't just throw money around to get all these different books.
Yeah,
or care about this stuff.
That would have prevented me, because I'm somewhat of a completionist. Yeah. I mean, I showed you the picture of my AD&D second edition collection. You know, so you can tell that
that's all meaningless to me. I don't care about.
Yeah. Once I started buying them, it was like, all right, I gotta have all of the class ones. You know, so all the complete guides and that. You know, there was only a couple that I was like, I'm not bothering with that. But as much as I hate psionics, I still got the psionics book. You know, because I'm a completionist. Yep. So I
never cared.
I would have in 1987, 88, at that point, I wasn't buying anything new. You know, my own gaming group had already broken up. You know, one went into the Navy, one went off to college. I was in college at the time. My other game master was in college at the time, and we only played sporadically here and there. And, you know, so at that point, I would have looked at all of these new books coming out for second edition as, I don't need that. I'm still somewhat playing AD&D first.
I was a slave to the activity. People don't get that. Like, I'm a slave to actual gaming to the point where you said, like, I would learn a game if I wanted to run it. Yeah. So that's different. I'd invest time to read, to learn, to play the game. But I'm a slave to the activity. Yeah. Right. So what I mean is, if this doesn't change the activity, if I don't need to change the activity, I will not invest any time reading this. And understand, I've always been someone who's slave to life. I've always been depended on, and people pull me in 50 million directions. If you said, Steven, do you have time to read this extra book? Nope. My life is no different today. I'm a complete slave. My name is, I'm lucky tonight I haven't heard my name 50 times. I'm lucky on most streams when that happens that I don't get anything. But I've been trying to negotiate with people to make sure it doesn't happen. But I have no life. I have absolutely, like, not in a bad way. I mean, I am okay. I volunteer my service. I am a servant of people in my life and people on here. When I used, lots of people think I watch their stuff, and that's I've had to tell people in the past. As much as maybe even I want to, maybe I did want to. Maybe you're totally not wrong that I was watching because you might be saying something. I wasn't because I didn't have time. Just did it. Sorry, guys. Just I wasn't there. And I remember I find that funny. People would talk the thing as if they're talking to me. Well, I bet your Condor's watching tonight. Here's what I think, Condor. And occasionally I would try to backtrack and watch some of the stuff. So I'd watch it like 3 days later. I'm watching. I'm like, I'm smirking as I'm watching, going, I wasn't there. But I get you thought I was there. Could I get to watch it right now? But very few of those I would see. But yeah, I just have no time. Same thing back then. I was busy with work, busy with family, and I'm someone who's just dependable. But that's a curse. That's a curse, right? You become dependable and you work hard. Everybody wants you, right? Everybody wants your time because you get shit done. Everybody wants to talk to you. My gaming I was an addict to the activity. I wasn't like, I'd say this, I almost call myself half a nerd because there's a part of me that's just completely like the normie crowd. And then there's a part of me that's nerd. But I don't care about things a lot of nerds care about. It's like the aesthetic things with one E. I understand nerds now, but it would never make sense to me to turn away second edition because it doesn't have demons. I'm like, does that stop us from playing at the table or doing something? No, I don't give a fuck. I just don't. I don't care. I don't have this religious. Like I could bring demons in if I want to, but that game doesn't have demons.
Just change the names. My gosh, it's not a big deal. It's like all they did was change the name of them. They called them demons instead of demons.
How many people do you still hear on streams go, yeah, they got rid of the demons? I'm like, and it'd be older guys too, where I'm like, really? But okay, fair enough.
I think that's more of an argument that they felt that they bent the knee.
I agree. I agree. They might have, and
yeah, they probably did, just because it just made more of a business sense to do so. And then they were like, are we really going to, continue weathering this nonsensical storm that could be costing us money over the word demon and devil instead of calling them what they ultimately ended up calling them, right?
Basically, I thought TSR loved us, and I really thought they tried this was, how do they still serve us with the stuff we somewhat like without abandoning us? And how do they do it? That means they need to find a middle ground. Yeah. When TSR went away, people were saying, and I sort of seen it come later, the next company that picks this up won't care about us. And why should they? Because the company that served us failed. So why would they keep going after us, right? Like, if we're not going to support things that are obviously for the more general public, then even the stuff they can do for us, well, now there's no company to do it for us. So we need to be less picky as customers and go buy some of this shit. If not, there's no TSR. And then we get WotC. And TSR failed simply because they tried to get more people. They failed, but they failed with no support. It's like they don't even have the money to advertise second edition. Why didn't they do a good marketing job at second edition? No money. Now, if they had money from us, they'd have money to market it. That was it. That's a big boom. Thanks for your time tonight. Have dinner.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Robert, and enjoy your huge family. That's they're going to be in your house.
Yeah, so. But that was my take on the end. And when you actually look into what the actual people said, which is I'm going to be covering that later in the year too. I'm doing a thing on this. I'm going by what the market said and TSR said itself. They had no money to advertise second edition, and they had no money because their customer base got really picky about certain things that they thought were unnecessary to be mad about. And I agree with them. When you look at the gameplay of Second Ed, was it real? Like, did you really have to just throw them under the bus because of the lack of demons?
Yeah, it's that they just use code names to hide it from the normies.
That's all. But it's just D&D is a great thing. And as much as the elitists back then wanted the hobby to only be for us, the problem is the company needs more money to keep going.
Yeah.
So guys, I get that we want this, but if we are not supportive, we fall. WotC puts out products that we think some of their customers won't like, but their customers will still buy a bunch of the stuff. Even when they're picky, like they're not as picky as TSR's customer old nerd base. And that's, I think, why WotC abandoned us. And can you, like, I don't like WotC, but when I look at their business practice, I'm like, well, if you studied the history of TSR and how the customers were, how can you blame them?
Well, you know what? Actually,
yeah,
I think that the mistakes that TSR made were never really counter consumer. All right, not counter player base. Like, I don't think they made any changes for the sake of pushing players away.
Never. They respected us. You just go to second edition.
WotC does that. WotC actually pushes people away. All right, and so I look at them in two different ways. There, they were both very challenged. They're both losing money. But one was losing money because of mismanagement. The other was losing money. WotC losing money because they're trying to cater to a much smaller group of people who actually don't buy stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're buying into a consumerism that doesn't exist.
I actually think WotC tried a bit with third edition to get us. I think they got to the point, and at least from what Chris Perkins had said in interviews that I got the hint from him. They got to a point where they were like, well, if you didn't buy from TSR, you're not buying from us. The company decided by the time around fourth edition to say, fuck you. Like, I'm not backing them on it. I'm just saying, I agree with you. You do see a lot more the counter against customers. TSR never did that. Yeah. I felt like if you look at through second edition, TSR is trying to still love you while trying to be open. So that's why the gameplay is improved, not to hate on you, the customer old school guy, but to actually appease you. WotC gave up trying to appease you.
Yeah.
That's it. WotC just said at one point, well, you put TSR out of business. You're not buying from us. We are abandoning you. And I'm like, we could say we hate it, but the way we have influence is to spend our money and take risk. The hobby wouldn't exist if we didn't take risk.
That's true.
Palladium was crappy when it was coming out with its games. World of Darkness looked like crap and had all kinds of grammar issues. People invested anyway and never got too nerdy about these things because we had no choice. If not, you don't get more games. But because of the risk taking, we get more games, more products from TSR. Suddenly, the customers got, my opinion, the customers got spoiled. And the second you spoiled them and they're picky nerds, combo not good, guess what? You're cursed. Now you need to do everything exactly the way they want or you're fucked. That's it. You can't try to get the wider stuff because most of the old guys don't want it. They don't want the stuff that is more to appease to the majority. And that's why the elite started writing Gary. If you ever check out Gary's history, he gets all these letters, right? And he talks about it openly in interviews. He gets all these religious type letters, not religious as real religious, but I talked about this recently, where it's letters from guys going, don't dare open up the hobby. Stop this. But it's Gary's like, but the problem is they grew too big. They made so much money that they got too big. And then for them to keep going with the company they have, it's like imagine you start making money and you buy that $100,000 a month apartment, but then you start making half the money. Now you can't afford the apartment. You're going to go to business. Problem is the business TSR got too big. Now, and because they're making so much money, but now they start making less and they can't afford their staff. They can't afford the stuff. And this is the problem. They need to keep making this much money for the business to stay up here. Just like having that $100,000 apartment. You moved into it thinking you were guaranteed to make that money every year going forward. But a year later, half your money stopped. Now you can't afford that apartment. That's what happened to TSR. Got too big and then wanted to maintain what they had. But you can't make a little bit of money and maintain it up here.
All right, so let's try to wrap this thing with a bow.
Okay.
All right, and let's finish off with that idea that I pitched, like, how do we get the modern players to take their look at AD&D second edition? So how do we bring them in? How do we say, hey, you know what? I mean, more so than just running it at a convention where that's where they're going to see it. How do we bring them in and say, hey, if you like this, you'll find that here. So,
well, first off, I think I got an answer for this. First off, I think we have to admit that the internet is a very influential place. And it's not a lot of people are going to encounter this stuff outside of, say, having an opportunity to hear us and people like us around. My first thought is I would look at the YouTubers on here and go, cool your fucking jets. You're a good portion of the guys turning away because of you. You're a bunch of assholes. And I get we're all pricks nerds. I get it. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to say is we got to calm the fuck down. Because the new crowd is accustomed to nicer content creators. Go look at all the 5e guys. Matt Colville, nice guy. Right? Matt Mercer, when he's talking, nice guy. Look at Dungeon Professor had to go serve a new crowd because he left the old school. Remember, he starts here as a YouTuber, doesn't get anything, abandons us just like Tias, just like Watsy did. Hate to say it, it's just true. He went and started serving the new crowd. What does he do? Nice, pleasant content. Meaning the majority of the new people do not like the attitude. Period. Now, you might have certain channels that will serve some of our most hateful people in our audience, but it doesn't attract nobody from the new crowd. They want pleasant, positive people. I'm not saying we have to kiss their ass or be overly positive, but it would be nice to see even 80% of the guys get rid of their fucking attitude, get the stick out of their fucking ass, and talk like a fucking decent human being to each other and stop doing this open attacks on people. It's like the shit they do to me. Well, guess what? Those people are watching. When you do it to me and be unfair, those people are watching. And so don't think your attacks on me are hidden, right? Those people are watching. They see how you treat me. Do you think new people want to come around to this? Nope. Because I've had new guys from 5e go, man, I heard you got a bad reputation. I heard all this stuff about you. I've listened to your videos. I don't see it or hear it.
Yeah. So, but getting back to the game. So let's.
You're not. I don't think it's a game that's holding back. I think there's all kinds of guys out there that say they're interested in the OSR, but they won't bother with it because of the people. That's the constant complaint I hear. I don't think the OSR scares any player off. I think a lot of them are interested. I think I almost think this is the biggest issue we have. That's almost why I think it's worth mentioning. You can't even get around it. We promote the game. They do look to us. They come to our community and they look at all our people talking, the hits on the cameras. Almost every one of us are assholes. They see it and they feel it and they know it. It's the most constant thing I hear from people. Every time I talk to a 5e guy, yeah, I would play the OSR, but man, I don't want to play with those guys. They're always
so again, like.
So I don't think it's a game. I don't think the game is actually keeping people away or had to make.
Well, no, it's about like you're saying. It's when we are online.
We should almost be thinking that
we should be talking about the games.
Not just talk about the games, but we should make ourselves more attractive to people that don't.
Well, that's what I'm basically saying. Yeah. It's like, so we should be talking more about the games that we enjoy running. Yeah. And then presenting those games and saying, listen, I just started running, AD&D second edition for the first time. Show it to them, show them that you're having it, start talking about this. Hey, and I ran my very first session of this, and this is the experience that I had for running it, and this is the experience that my players had at this table. That's how you...
Well, that's not even it. Go look at the 5e YouTubers. That's not what they do. We should be watching because Matt Colville shouldn't be someone we attack. And why attack someone who's very popular with this crowd? That seems really. We hate Matt Colville. All those guys love Matt Colville. So I don't. That's why. If you notice in my content, I'm always fair to him. He has an old school mindset. I don't always agree with it, but I'll say things like that because that's what got the 5e guys to talk to me.
Yeah.
Was being fair to, because they love Matt. Like, here, you're going to hate the guy they love. What do you think they're going to do? Well, screw you guys. You don't like Matt Colville. We don't like you.
Yeah. To be honest with you, that's somebody that I don't think I've ever watched any of his videos.
You should.
Ever. Yeah.
But your ideas are not what he does.
Yeah.
None of those guys are doing what you're even suggesting. So that what you're suggesting will not attract. Well, it doesn't mean it can't, but I'm just saying that's not what is attracting. So the best way for us to know how to draw new blood is to go look at the people that are serving them successfully. Bob the Builder, or whatever his name is. Go check him out.
Yeah, Bob the Builder. Yeah, I've seen his stuff and everything.
But pay attention.
Of the big YouTubers, the one that I actually watch the most is Professor Dungeon Master. Of that group, of the really large ones.
But notice how he presents himself. See, the new crowd wants commercial. I hate to say it. They like corporate. We have to remember this. And they're accustomed to corporate. So my amateur style doesn't attract a lot of them. But they like, some of them like me, but they'll tell me they don't watch a lot of my stuff because they get bored. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm mostly entertaining old guys that are somewhat accustomed to the amateur shit. They want something more put to them in a professional way. That's the truth. They want something where it's, you understand you're not just some guy shooting the shit on Discord. They do not like the shoot the shit streams on Discord talk. They really oppose that. Introduced many new players, AD&D second this, I guess. I have two. I mean, but that's small numbers. I just say this to attract them really. They don't like say we're having like a Discord shoot the shit moment on stream. They don't like that. Now, it's almost all of them don't like that. They want us to take our stream serious. Like Max, surprisingly, I don't know if he's talking to a lot of guys, but I talked to a lot of 5e guys that checked his stuff out because he has a more organized stream. When he finally puts out a video, it's a little bit more organized, and they find that appealing. I don't know how many guys he talks to from that world, but I talked to a couple of 5e guys that watch him or watch his stuff with Legion of Myth. But I'm like, yes, because they're accustomed to the more professional presentation.
Yeah, I guess that's what it comes down to. They want to see a stream with or a presentation with all of the bells and whistles and graphics, and
see, we're just having fun with our
all those people talk about the same thing. Like all of those big YouTubers talk about the same thing. Oh, thumbnails have to be this and that, and
it's aesthetic.
Titles have to be certain things, and
but old school is amateur. You got to think
it's all algorithmic driven kind of content. Which, to be honest with you, I look at it a little bit. But I don't go nuts over it. Like I certainly don't.
I don't think we're going to do the professional stuff. This is why I tell guys, like, look, I don't think we can make a perfect change in our community to attract these people. They are too accustomed to things we don't do. We have to accept we're probably not going to do most of it. So we can at least ease up. They like positive. So I tell guys, positive is at least something simple you can do. You don't need to become a professional guy to do positive, right? So if we're not going to do a lot of things that appeal to them, maybe we can do that. I think the old school loves amateur. We love pieces of paper. We love to just draw the thing up. We like amateur. We're accustomed to being okay. Like when I go on my streams, I don't do no openings. Want to know why? I don't need to, because I know old guys are watching me. They won't give a shit. They didn't even give a shit tonight on your opening. I'm not disrespecting it, but they don't care. They don't care, and we do not need to do those openings to keep our audience here. That would be more suitable if you were getting 5e guys here. If not, to me personally, I think it's a personal thing. I think it's a waste of time to do openings. Like I see guys doing them, I'm like, yeah, but our fucking crowd doesn't give two fucks about this. I don't know what
the actual. I think there is an actual mechanical purpose for it, like a YouTube mechanic behind that.
Well, you're trying to. It's a slight attempt at being a little bit more professional in your
No,
presentation.
no. I think that there's actually something more program based behind doing that.
Yeah.
Like I think maybe it gives them, maybe they get a full minute alert that it's about to go live. There's
well, this is where you play YouTube a little different than me. I do think you should care about certain things, but there's some things I think are just out of our control.
Yeah, well,
I go. You want to know what? I could try to figure this stuff out, but the reason I don't talk about algorithm and I just go, fuck it, I don't know.
Yeah.
And what I figured out is all the successful guys, when you seriously talk to them, other than them getting informed by YouTube, like go to Dungeon Professor. So how'd you grow? If he were to tell you the truth, he'd probably say, I don't know. I started doing the 5e stuff and I got more people. Did you understand the algorithm?
No, not in the beginning. No,
but to a point, without YouTube telling him, would he know? Would he even playing off that supposed information? No, nobody's confident they know anything. They know. So he had to talk to YouTube instead of other people. But for the most part, almost all guys don't really know. They just start doing certain content and go, oh, okay, they like that kind of content. I'll keep doing it, right? So I don't bother paying attention to that stuff. I just figure, look,
that's what I think it is. So like Driving and Dragons is saying it here. Algorithmically, it gives the people time to show up and interact in chat before it actually launches.
See, here's what only confuses me. Sometimes the algorithm seems to work one way for so many people.
Yeah.
And then somebody else does the same thing. And it doesn't work that way for them. And then all these other people doesn't work that way for. That's what confuses me. Because I'll see 10 of you all tell me something. And I believe all of you that is happening. I'm not trying to insult anyone here. I'm saying I get that for the 10 of you that are all talking to each other, that happens. But there'll be 10 other guys that do the same opening, and that algorithm thing does not work for them, and they're doing exactly what you're doing. And I'm like, how is that going? And then I asked YouTube personally, because YouTube now interacts with me, which is great. So I talked to YouTube, especially in DMs, talked to the staff there. That's how I got rid of my 2 strikes off my channel, because they realized I was doing nothing wrong for this one. But I talked to them and I asked them, how does the algorithm work? They're like, we can't tell you. I'm like, is there some consistency? Yeah. One staff member said, no. It's one of these things where the algorithm decides, and it's almost like thinking of the algorithm as an AI that has a personality. This is what the guy told me. This is what personally he told me. He said, the algorithm decides how it wants to react, and it might change next week. But if you think we're doing it at YouTube changing it, we're not. Yeah. The algorithm is learning. So the algorithm learns. So how it works this week with you guys, it might not work next week. And it might only work with this content, but not say we do old school, but some guy does 3E. His opening might not work the same way.
Right.
But that's the algorithm almost having a mind of its own. So you can't, it's almost like you can't. And he said, you can't guarantee nothing because we really don't control it other than putting some rules.
Yeah. I was a couple weeks ago, I attended I was invited to putting in an application to attend. It was kind of weird, right? It was like, here's an invitation where, we've noticed your channel is growing. You're in a niche that we're kind of interested in promoting more. And if you fill out this application and you get approved, you can attend this workshop. Right. So it was basically a membership workshop, and it's why they actually sent me the sweatshirt for having completed it, so I was like, all right, that's, pretty cool. It's a nice sweatshirt, by the way, but it was like, and it was a pretty interesting thing. And like you said, they didn't say like, this is how exactly the algorithm works, but they did say, we have noticed that this is going to work more so than if you don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't trust, after what that staff member guy told me.
Yeah.
I don't trust comments like that no more. Because he made it
was like,
he said, just think of it's a personality, Stephen. You'll accuse us of we're doing something with YouTube. We don't focus on tabletop role-playing game content no more. Like, not true. The algorithm has decided not to focus on you no more, and we have just allowed it to do whatever it's doing. But it might focus on you next week. But then it might not focus on you the week after. Then it might focus back on you the next week after that. That's how that's why they say really it's hard to, like, you should not take advice from people that tell you, and this is what the guy told me, you should not take advice from people that tell you the algorithm works this one way. Just saying. That's this is a guy that works at the fucking thing telling me this, so I don't know what to say. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's more like he says, like, look, he understood. It does seem to work a certain way, and people won't be completely wrong. But he says that person could tell you everything, and then tomorrow the algorithm says, yeah, not working.
Yeah, it's so different. Yeah, they'll never give you a definitive answer because they don't have one.
No, they don't, because it's like an AI, right?
But they do know. They do know that there are certain things that you're not going to generate the views.
Well,
there's other things that you might generate the views.
Well, he just said there's some consistency sometimes, but the consistency is, say, most of the year it won't react to this, but you know what? Some Thursdays it does, and you're like, well, why only Thursdays, and why only so many Thursdays? And here's the staff going, I don't fucking know, man. Even the owner of the goddamn thing doesn't know. So, but it's so you don't get mad at them. Yeah. That's really, they try to be fair. They let the machine run it. So you could say the staff is, because they used to get accused of censoring people and all this all the time. Now they're just like, no, we don't censor you at all. The algorithm does. But legally, they can take that to court. That's the problem most people don't understand. That's why the algorithm is so random. It is to just save them. That's all. Like, that's my honest take. So ever since I learned all that about the algorithm, I'm like, oh, well, maybe the consistency is good. Unless it's the Thursday because algorithm just like, you might as well call it Tom. Yeah. Hey, Tom, how you feeling today? Are we doing the normal shit? Nah, fuck around. So they even said, the algorithm trolls. That's what the guy told. He trolls. So the trust that this is going to be this, I don't know. I'm missing some of the comments because I'm looking at.
I'm that's fine. No, I'm just hitting a couple of them here and there. Some of the comments about how the algorithm works and everything. But we're going to wrap it up here because my family is now getting ready to go to bed as well.
Richard, I hope you enjoyed this.
So I absolutely enjoyed it. I hope everybody watching enjoyed it as well. Hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to close this one out. So thank you, everyone, for stopping in. And Stephen, thank you again for popping on. And I'm going to hit the end screen. It takes about 3 seconds. So we'll still be live for about 3 seconds. And then we'll chat a little bit afterwards. So
link my channel in the description.
Yes, I will in the description. The thing with these live, it takes almost 24 hours for this to actually become something that I can then attach links to your channel. But
I'm always picking. I appreciate the whole night.
Yeah,
I really do.
So I'm going to hit